Welcome, agents of RSL. Please introduce yourselves for the recording.
Red button's been pushed!
I'm Jeremy White. Wait. I'm Ben Cislowski, and I play Rooster.
I'm Dan Waszkiewcz, and I'm the handler.
I'm Tiana Hanson. I play Rowan. I'm also the editor and producer of this wonderful mess.
I'm Joseph Newman. I play Rory. I also sometimes do social media.
I'm Seth Jones. I play River.
And my name is Alondra Heilman. Some of you may already know me as Lady Bedivere. I'm a cast member with Quests and Chaos. However, tonight, I shall be serving as the humble moderator of this most unusual event. Welcome, everyone, to the debrief of Season 3 of the Redacted Reports, a Delta Green podcast.
Roll credits.
Lady Bedivere.
You have all been granted clearance to join us for this exciting event to ask questions and glean glimpses into the behind the scenes of the increasingly wild antics of RSL. First, a few guidelines for those of you joining us from home, and then we'll get into the reason why you're all actually here. First off, to help us better find your questions in the chat, please put a big capital letter Q at the beginning of your message. That would be incredibly helpful to me because I will be curating and pulling those live as we go and inserting them into the list of questions that you have already lovingly provided for us. Number two, please don't spam your questions. We already have a long list of things that ASL has requested clarification on, and we may already have a version of your question in the list, or it might pair nicely with a topic that is upcoming, so patience. And then, of course, while you have been granted clearance for portions of this debrief, there is some knowledge that even now is unknowable to the human mind, so RSL reserves the right to decline to answer any question for any reason without explanation required. After all, we do have to save some secrets for next season. So with those guidelines in mind, feel free to start adding any questions to the chat that you may have, or talk amongst yourself, your call. Also, a huge reminder, this is a spoiler zone. We will do our best to hold up a physical spoiler card and call it out if we start to discuss anything from the 3.5 interludes that dropped this morning, because we know some of you probably didn't have a chance to get to those yet. But we're assuming that if you're here hanging out with us, you've probably listened all the way through ITUS 13, so every other episode of Season 3, except for the one that dropped this morning, or that you don't care about spoilers. I don't judge. And now that you've heard me talk more than enough, let's turn it over to these folks and get our questioning started.
I'm more nervous now than when I was sitting across from the G-Man.
So, let's start with a very broad question, but I think a very interesting one. Season 3 was a bit of a structural departure from the previous seasons. Wow, blame already.
Oh, we know.
Just started.
He knows.
And it covered a lot of ground. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the choice to play with the structure of your season, what that ended up being like in practice. Obviously, there's a lot of sub-questions that are going to come up in here. And of course, we have to start by throwing this question to the handler.
So, I wanted to try something different, through literary style. I wanted the through line to be the plot and not necessarily each season, because effectively it's 3 seasons. We had 3 arcs here, but the idea was I wanted to highlight the players and the characters and build on each of the character development this season and try to expose them more. I always wanted to have a focus on the characters instead of the mission, like other Redacted Reports type of things. Not other Redacted Reports, other Delta Green things, excuse me. So, where they focus just on the mission and, the agents kind of die off quite quickly. And we're kind of keeping ours around.
No, we torture ours.
Yes, we torture ours.
It's much more interesting.
Much more fun. There are worse things than death, as we all have found out. So that was the idea behind it, was I wanted to really try just a different literary exercise, and instead of focusing on the mission, and then going into the character development and focusing that way. So that's it for the long and short. And also, I had ideas, and we see it. It worked out.
If I might, I know that the third part was supposed. You were expecting it to be shorter, right?
I'm going to get there. I have a 5-page document, everybody.
Preparations.
Because we actually want to go, before we get to that, and I think this will lead into that, is a question that was actually asked by several of our patrons, including Agent Harold and Arobs, who wanted to know more about what challenges you might have run into merging an existing module with an original scenario. Were there any particular strategies that came out of that were helpful as you restructured the season? And yes, if you would like to use that to lead into talking about the 5 episodes of ITOS. You all listened, right? There were 5 episodes.
Yeah, there were only going to be 5 episodes.
Yeah.
Five or 6 episodes
Yeah.
of In Time and Space.
Yeah.
So whenever I look at a pre-printed module, anything that's written by somebody else, it doesn't always fit with your players. I mean, it goes for this game or any other game that I play or I use. I have to fit it into my people's story. Rarely does it follow beat by beat. So it's kind of been something I've been doing forever. You just have to personalize it to the people that are there. Made some changes in Lovers in the Ice. Lovers in the Ice was...
We'll get there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know that one's on the list.
Lovers in the Ice was a very interesting module, and I picked it because when I chose, I forgot the name of the adventure. The shrimp farm. What did I use for shrimp farm? Oh, Ex Oblivione. Ex Oblivione. When I did Ex Oblivione, I'm from Arizona, and I live in the desert. I know heat, so I wanted to present the things that I know, which is heat. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and we've had blizzards. I grew up in the mountains. So Lover in the Ice, I modified from being in Missouri to Idaho because I want them to be on the West Coast and in a blizzard because I know the blizzard. So these were all things that I'm familiar with that I could tell the story with and kind of put my stamp on it. Challenges? Nah, not really. I mean, it's herding cats. I mean, that's just kind of always what it is.
To paraphrase Agent Quinn, 5 to 7 episodes, guys. Which has been our catchphrase
It really
for
has.
months now.
Yeah, so do you guys want to, since we've already brought it up, do you want to talk a little bit about 5 to 7 episodes?
I mean,
Any further than the obvious?
part of it was that we got so much information during rescue, and the characters and frankly the players didn't know how to prioritize what was important.
Those players and characters.
Fair. I love red stringing. I love it. It's fascinating to
The
me.
investigators.
Yeah. But we couldn't really prioritize because we didn't know what was important to the immediate deal with father's situation and what was dropping breadcrumbs for what was coming in the future.
Yeah.
So because we couldn't prioritize, we started just pulling on all the strings and seeing where they went.
Plus-
that was the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, and plus we were all at home, so the kind of lots of things that wouldn't have happened till the interludes happened all throughout In Time and Space.
Yeah.
What, I'm supposed to ignore the homeless guy who knows who and what I am?
Yeah, that was a thing. So, it blossomed. And, we also had a lot of challenges with the actual recording schedule because
Oh my gosh.
there were times we said on the Discord that we had no sympathy for a particular cliffhanger that we were leaving y'all on when Rowan asked what is his name on the driver's license.
Yeah.
This is because we had to wait 6 weeks to find out the answer to this.
See, Rescue 1 and 2.
6 weeks of
7 weeks. We were gone for 6 weeks.
Yeah, there's that. So with that, it took months to record Idas specifically, the rescue into Idas, because we had people who were gone. It was summertime. There were things going on.
Holidays.
And holidays, yeah.
And I think that may have also led to a bit of the extra length because this being an actual play, part of it was us kind of going,
Wait, what did we do?
yeah, that's what we did, right? Except for me because I'm not an investigator. Brewster's not an investigator and I'm not a red stringer. So I just went, snark, dick joke, go.
One of the comments that we got from someone talking about mid-itis was that there were a lot of meetings that could have been emails, was essentially the short version of the comment that we got. And that was partially because for a lot of it, we couldn't remember what we had done, so we had to go over it again.
So I feel like I have to jump out of order because I was going to take us through the season in order.
Sorry.
No. This brings up an excellent point because
Wait, you had plans for this?
Yes.
5-page document. I came prepared.
5 pages, guys.
5 pages.
I thought the first lesson was don't over-prepare.
This is not over preparing.
This is not over preparing. This is preparing the exact right amount. I also watched Ginny D's video this morning, and you should too.
Yep.
No, but I feel like this is a good point to ask. Tiana. What happened to Chris Price in Mustang?
She died.
Did anybody else know about this?
The person who had the person die on his shoulder should have remembered this.
You know what?
I have a really good
Yes,
excuse.
what do I know?
You weren't there.
You have an excellent excuse. You couldn't have known.
I had a very good excuse too. It was a couple of months between the end of recording one and the beginning of the other. And yeah, so what happened is at the end of Idaho, Chris Price showed up. And then Dan said, after we were finished, really, you aren't gonna say anything about how she's dead? And I went, oh shit, she's dead! So this was one of the rare times when something was egregious enough on a player's fault, not something that a character made a decision on, but that the character should have known this.
We went back and re-recorded.
Yeah.
Like a one-sentence reaction from everyone.
Yeah.
It was a very quick re-record. One of the fastest I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, I dropped that seed in the beginning of the season.
You did.
know you
I also
did.
forgot that Chris Price was dead then, too. If I forgot at the beginning, you think I would have remembered by the end?
Hopefully I reminded you. That's why I reminded you.
That's why you reminded me, and I went, oh shit.
Well, okay, but A, I always forget names right away.
Fair.
And B, it's like, yeah, whatever, dead person walking. Let's go home.
And C, I was more worried about the cranberry juice than Chris Price.
And at that point, I
But
hadn't
my
heard.
excuse is
yeah.
that, when Chris Price was busy dying, River was kind of distracted.
This is true.
Yeah.
I think that the only people who were really, really aware of it was Rooster because she was on his shoulder, and
fault.
Rowan because she was watching everything through binoculars at this point from the roof of the Amex.
And Dan, because he hand-fed it to us.
Well, yes.
And Rory just the character didn't have an idea, and then 2, I didn't have an idea.
SGDI.
I don't know what I did.
Do you need a notepad? Sorry, the handler needs to make some notes.
Yeah.
Yes, he has to write it down so that it's real.
Spoilers occurring, not for interludes.
Well, while Dan is making notes about how to make your lives more difficult in future seasons, let's see. So here, we'll throw the ball another direction because this leads right in. So in addition to this we're merging some homebrew and we're merging an existing module, this wasn't actually our first dip into a fully created scenario because season 3 also saw the return of Agent Rory with the Alaska arc. Which, if you may all remember, that was a thing that also happened before season 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite season 3, but it was before. Yeah. It was.
I didn't get a chance to go rewatch the season 2 Talkback to remember if it had already been touched on. So
It had not been recorded yet.
It hadn't happened yet.
And from what I understand, I just learned this too. Apparently, the recording order of Idaho and Alaska was a little hinky
Yes.
too. So, Joseph, I'd love for you to take point on this, and then Dan, you can jump in.
Yeah,
But
so-
tell us what it was like coming back, and also tell us about the weirdness of the recording order. And what
Yeah,
that was about.
so they finished up Shrimp Farm, and then I hopped back in for interludes after post season 2, and then we had kind of planned on doing a little arc for Rory about why wasn't Rory in Shrimp Farm?
Oh, that was just going to be an interlude. That was going to be like that 15, 20 minute long thing, and then it just... bleh.
And then
Yeah.
someone
18 episodes, guys.
and then someone's mouth wrote a check that his ass had to cash.
Yeah.
That's
And this is why we're distributed by
Yeah,
Quests and
so then
Chaos.
we'd already been planning on running the Idaho mission, so we decided let's just keep going with that, and we'll find time for me and Dan one-on-one to record Alaska. And so I played through most of, I think all of Idaho, except I think I recorded the first 2 episodes of Alaska before we finished Idaho. We finished Idaho, and then I recorded the end of Alaska. But Alaska all came out before Idaho. So the character development that I kind of stuff I figured out about Rory during Alaska wasn't really there for Idaho, so it was all kind of, yeah.
I don't think people really noticed, other than you became much more vocal and
Assertive.
and assertive,
Yeah.
and kind of moved yourself into kind of second in command on the team, if you will.
Yeah.
It's also been a pleasure as a player, because I mean, I didn't know you before we started doing this. Actually, I think the first time I met you was when we did Last Things Last.
No, Quartz Toil.
Oh, that's right. I hadn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like one other time.
But it's been a pleasure actually seeing you, both of you actually,
Yeah.
are quiet people, really blossoming and getting more assertive with your and more comfortable with your characters has been awesome.
Yeah, but like the Rory, like especially in Idaho, with Rory kind of being forced into that leadership position, I think, like in character after Alaska, it made sense for him to kind of have that position. But I hadn't recorded Alaska yet, so it was kind of like not sure. I wasn't 100% there. And I kind of played it off as like, oh, it's in character. It's a lot.
Yeah,
It's happening
Idaho,
all at once.
you shot River.
I
It's becoming a game. Who shoots River next?
No, it's becoming a game of who's
I
Rory
should
gonna
next.
shoot.
did. Yeah.
He tried to shoot
So
me.
close.
Well, that was
So close.
close.
Oh my
very
god!
close.
Oh.
I
We're
was
getting ahead of ourselves.
We'll get there.
Don't worry. We will talk about the massive amount of friendly fire that occurred throughout this
Yeah.
season. Don't worry.
for once. It wasn't my fault.
Yeah, it wasn't entirely your fault.
Yeah, but even on top of that, like just jumping back into recording after they had all recorded a whole season was a little weird as well. But it didn't after I think after Idaho, it kind of snapped right back in.
So we have had breaks, and one thing that talking about challenges, one thing that I find is making sure that we get back in the rhythm, because there's certainly a rhythm when you record and when you game and when you play. And obviously we're producing a story for everybody to listen to, but we kind of have to get our feet. And so having, some breaks, sometimes it's a little bit slow at times. So that's why we have the meetings that could have been emails and some repeating things of, why did those two have the same conversation that was told?
Yep.
Last episode. That's because last episode was recorded 5 weeks ago. And, we're kind of refreshing ourselves. And
I'm not as fast an editor as I still want to be, so I hadn't gotten to that point to be like, folks, we've already talked about this.
I was kind of thinking about this and realized this is kind of like if you're watching a D&D actual play, those are our shopping episodes. Because we haven't been to Walmart in a while.
It's true. You haven't had a shopping list since Arizona.
Mostly because Dan has
Started
sort of
making one at the
hand-waved.
beginning of Idaho.
We did, but then nothing was open in Farmers Ferry.
And Dan's kind of hand-waved. I haven't had to do nearly
have-
as much
was
like
inventory
And
management.
you did the inventory for the last bit, but you already had that stuff, right?
yeah, you know what? Rooster's going to have a hard time getting more stuff. But actually, you know what? Next episode or next season, we're not going to have to really sweat the equipment. Well, we actually will have to sweat the equipment.
Lots of sweat.
Just in much different ways.
Well, before we get to sweating, let's go back to freezing our asses off and talk a little bit about Idaho.
Is the AC going to kick on again?
It's
It's on. You don't hear the hum?
I'm a human furnace.
And you're sitting next to the other human furnace, which is hilarious to me.
We could talk about Brazil if you want to do the heat before the cold, because
That was another interesting one, yeah.
Well,
if you want to.
well, just because I'm looking at my kind of semi-order of things, because we had Alaska and we had Brazil that both sort of were interludes, essentially, or they were intended as, and then that fed into Idaho, which then fed into Rescue and In Time and Space. I guess it's kind of a question for Dan, but also for everyone, because obviously this touched specific character backstories and side stories. Was that something that were those always intended to just be interludes? Were those always intended to be a little bit broader, or were you providing room for that? And how did that affect, if at all, moving from this published module into this homebrewed module?
So with Brazil, we had a lot of questions. There were a lot more questions than answers in that of where we were going to go with it. When I got my hands on Lover in the Ice, I just by happenstance, I'm looking through it, I'm like, oh, this would be perfect here. And so I we extended that interlude into, the full-blown Brazil arc.
Actually, a question for you. In the module, because I know you made a point when we were playing it that it's tropical. It doesn't do well in snow. It's from Brazil. Was that something you added to connect to Brazil, or was that in the module?
No, so that's in the module.
Okay, that's
So I
cool.
added
Hanson.
Brazil into the module, kind of like the prequel.
Yeah.
You were actually becoming the prequel guy.
You are the prequel guy.
The what?
We'll
The
get there
prequel
too.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
That one's not out yet.
We're gonna get there.
I'll
We'll
get
talk
Sorry.
about
Oh,
it.
no.
Stop apologizing.
yeah.
I'm just letting you know that I do have a note. There's a
No, I was just gonna say that is largely because I'm still figuring out Rooster's backstory. Because again, he was supposed to die. He was a throwaway character that I liked playing too much.
But that's okay.
It's almost like you can invent backstory as you go because it's just anything that happened before. You don't have to pre-write it, Ezra. But while I'm shouting out people who may or may not be in the chat, the Hefner dropped 5,000 bits for the amazing set lighting behind us. Thank you,
Thank you,
Hefner.
Hef.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you.
So writing backstory writing backstory as we go along, I mean, I'm going to stare directly at Seth. Because Seth has given me the best background ever. And everyone else has no clue what's going on.
Does Seth have any clue what's going on?
No.
That's why it's the best backstory.
That's the beauty of amnesia. You can do whatever you want with it.
No wonder soap operas like it.
Well,
This also leads into a perfect segue because the interesting thing about Amnesia, of course, is that is a very fun blank slate, but it also involves large issues of player trust and consent. Which brings us to Idaho.
oh boy.
I am queen of the segues. I'm so sorry.
All roads lead to Idaho.
Yeah, eventually.
So,
Potatoes.
Arc 1, or Act 1 of Season 3, was based on a pretty infamous published Delta Green scenario called Lover in the Ice. It is infamously gnarly and quite disgusting. And it is, huge spoilers, a module that deals with a lot of issues of non-consent, compulsion, and violence, much of which is of a sexual nature. I'm going to start this with Dan, but kind of open to the table as well. How did you approach adapting that module within the lines and veils that you've established as a table? What changes did you make? You can be as vague or specific as you want to be. And just how did you address player agency within this module and within such a controversial module while still utilizing the threads that it laid out for you?
I do not want to ever take away player agency. Charm Person is a horrible spell in any role-playing game because that takes away the player's ability to choose for what they want with their character. Now, I could certainly, add the idea of, compulsions, or you may want to do this, but ultimately you're going to have the ability to say no. If the players don't have that opportunity, then I've failed as a storyteller and as a friend because I don't want to put people into uncomfortable situations like that. I want to make you squirm and squig about other things, but there's certainly, definitely lines and veils, and sex is one of them, sexual violence. When we first sat down to play, I went through a checklist of, what are things that we can't do? Where are lines and veils here? And again, fairly recently, I sent out another worksheet of lines and veils just to make sure we're still on the same, and it came back the same as what we had before. But I had to keep those in mind, when we're doing that, because in the way that it's written, the players do lose agency, especially if they get bit. Yeah, they kind of lose a little bit of their mind and start going off and doing the nasty, dirty things and spreading the beast, that the Alamante, the lover. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I took it out.
Well, I remember when we sat down for the audition game, before we ever did, and you did the sort of con game version quicker of Lines and Veils, and the first thing you said is, my two immediate, I will never have sexual violence, and I won't have violence against children.
Mm-hmm. And I've had to change the violence against children in a bunch of the modules.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of the stuff that's written.
Yeah.
And still provide some creepy stuff, you know.
Teenagers are still creepy.
Teenagers are still creepy.
I've got time. Before mine are.
You do.
But yeah, and you know, also checking in. We did check in Idaho if everybody was okay with, you know, some of the actions, because I did want it to be, you know, I wanted it to get a little bit of adult and heady, and you know, touch on the sexual stuff, you know, because you know, River gets invited to the orgy and nobody else does.
Plural.
Orgy. Yeah.
That did contain one of my personal favorite moments, which was when they were talking about the orgy, and Rory just very calmly was like, "They're really not all it's cracked up to be." Truly one of my favorites. Talking about prequels that I'm personally hoping to see.
As he disappears behind his mug.
Here's something. My mother might be watching Twitch, so.
Hi, Dan's mom.
It's kind of like when we're playing and Danny's mom is watching and we're all just sort of shrug. Sorry.
You knew what you came here for.
So, but yeah, along the lines of Lover in the Ice, are there other like controversial scenarios or operas that you wouldn't consider using, or is anything pretty much fair game as long as it can be adjusted within the bounds of player and handler comfort?
I have a list of no-go ones. Not going to go over them for various reasons. But with that, I think that most of them can be altered in one way or another. For example, there's one shotgun scenario that I will absolutely not do. That includes a suicide bomber in a preschool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Thank you.
That one came up. I think it's called "I Hate My Job." And I read it and I was like, "Oh, this sounds pretty cool." No, this is gone. We're getting rid of that because
Bye.
I'm trying to be. So even with next season, I'm making some changes because I am going to be using a pre-written module as the base, but I'm making some changes because, you know, we need to try to be better about things, and one thing how we can do that is by doing that ourselves. So, you know, getting rid of some of the tropes that get leaned on heavily, or, you know, bury your gays. We're not doing that either. I think I said that last.
I still think Andrew's the BBEG.
He can go insane. We can't kill him. It's a hate crime.
Joining the annals of queer plot armor. While we have a brief lull, I want to shout out the Dead Boy 42, who threw us 1,000 bits specifically to
sweetheart.
Dan for being bloody awesome.
Thank you.
Hey, y'all, and also Live Mom.
Okay, so yeah, that was some Idaho questions.
It was some Idaho question.
That was some Idaho questions.
Did you guys have any other questions or thoughts about Idaho?
I mean, I knew coming in that it was a controversial module because we had talked about it and you had told me, because, I mean...
All of us.
Well, and more so, being a producer... Oh, God, I hate that sentence.
Live it, breathe it.
Fine. Being the producer on this show and the editor, I need to know things sometimes before they happen. Like, there's a couple of things that I know that are coming up because Dan needed very specific sound effects and wanted to bounce some ideas off of me to be like, you know, I'm doing this, do you think? So I knew about Idaho and Lover on the Ice to an extent. Not quite as bad as it got, but... I knew that he was changing things enough that I was like, the instant any of us, well, and I trust Dan. Like, that's really what it comes down to, because we had been through Shrimp Farm together, which was very emotionally traumatizing for my character, but I knew at any point that if I pulled the X card, we were done. Just stop. And yeah, I trust Dan, so I knew it was going to be okay. So, like, it was controversial, but I don't know. I wasn't worried about it.
I'm also not sorry that I might have ruined mustard or Boston cream pie.
Boston cream Karen.
Boston cream Karen. Not at all. Not sorry that I ruined those for you at all. And I actually have an amazing recipe for shrimp in a mustard sauce with capers that I want to share someday.
I really do want to try that. It sounds delicious.
We're gonna have an entire Redacted Reports cookbook by the time our cell is done.
And it's all gonna be it's all gonna be redacted.
Well, we do already have started a cocktails book.
Oh shoot!
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Did you
yours.
forget that?
I totally forgot that. Okay,
I didn't even have a question about that, but I did have a note in my brain to mention that.
I come
So-
over to your house and you make me Rowans periodically.
I didn't even think about it. Yeah, the Rowan, by the way,
Delicious.
is 2 ounces of iced coffee, a half ounce of Frangelico, half ounce of Bailey's, half ounce of Kahlua, shaken over ice, strained, and garnished with ground chocolate.
I'm surprised it's not like $200 bottle or $2,000
It
bottle.
came out before that.
Okay.
Because I can't make that for her periodically when she comes over.
That's
no,
a very special
That's
event,
for
kind
you
of.
because you're only out here once a year.
and he doesn't drink, so it's for us.
Yeah.
No, I completely forgot about it because I started writing the stories and then I moved. And there's been a lot of life, and that one just sort of, I need to get back to it. Okay.
So if you're not a member of our Patreon or following us on socials, now's the time that I remind you to do that so that you can be the first to find out if and when we do get the cocktail companion up and ready to roll. It's not going to be super soon, but it'll be sooner now that we've all remembered it's a thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Before we leave Idaho, I did know
Yes.
the one thing I remember thinking during that was it was all so fast. Even in character, it was like one day.
It was one.
It was one day.
None of us wanted to sleep in that trailer.
Okay. Now, granted, remember, Shrimp Farm was like 3 days.
Buttermilk and ammonia.
Yeah.
He had to spell out because I'm like, what?
I was already cringing because I
I
got
had
there.
no idea what that meant. And then he explained, I was like,
Maybe it was just my college roommate. I don't know.
It was more like 5 days for Shrimp Farm, but it was a lot
it's
faster
supposed
than
to be like a month.
we were supposed to get to the solstice. It was supposed to be like 11 days.
No.
Father's Day can be any day you want if father is in your heart.
If you all try to go back to Mustang too early.
Trying to
How
get into
many
that damn
times were
theater.
you supposed to go to the annex? We've covered this. This was in the last season.
18 episodes, guys.
18 episodes.
But yeah, just the difference between Idaho and then In Time and Space, where in Idaho, no time to really process anything, and then a brief interludes, and then the rescue. In Time and Space, we had just so much time.
That was a purposeful choice. I really wanted to really hammer in that things were going to happen really quickly. Because Shrimp Farm did take a little bit of time, and it did build slowly, and then when it took off, it was to the races, and last couple episodes
Which
were.
is pretty much how we tend to do it. With that slow build and then boom.
But I wanted to change that with Idaho because I knew Idaho was going to be fast and one right after another, and I really wanted to hammer that home. And yeah, you guys did it in one day.
Well, and that was at least partially because Idaho was actually the B plot at that point. Like the intros were the A plot because that was
She'd taken control.
that was the line.
Yeah. And that was the B plot. And there were some threads that you guys didn't even grab that we never found out about. And
We never will.
They're gonna go. They're gonna go to the grave like a book that's been vaporized.
Rory.
We'll talk about that
I have an
later.
excuse.
He went insane. There is an excuse.
Oh boy, I feel like we need to just dive in. So, interestingly, I don't have any actual specific questions about the rescue act. So I'm going to open it to you all really quick. Lightning round, if there is any sort of popcorn thoughts that you wanted to address with that. And I think part of the reason that I don't have any questions with that is that it is so intrinsically tied to what comes next for the In Time and Space arc. But if anyone in chat right now has a question that is specific to that little mini rescue, or if any of you have any thoughts regarding that. Yes, Mr. Cislowski.
Yes. Well done.
Almost as good as the spit take that I still haven't gotten on Tiana.
That's
For those
better
of
than
you
the
who-
spit take.
For those of you who don't know, I used to be a high school English teacher. I was Mr. C because I started every year with my name's Mr. Cislowski. Please call me Mr. C because I don't want to be Mike Waszkiewcz. I learned this the hard way from subbing, but I was only ever Mr. Cislowski from the principal or a smartass.
And I'm both.
So that was yeah. That was weird.
Do go on, Mr. Cislowski.
Oh, fuck you.
Thank you.
Anyway, yeah, I remember for rescue, the big one was it went back to the same thing as the end of Mustang, where suddenly I had to be in charge of the military planning and execution, more the execution.
Always the execution.
Quiet.
Well,
There were a lot of people executed.
yeah.
Yes.
But I'm okay. I'm better at planning, but I, the player, have no military experience, have many friends who are military and have served, but no one close in my family. Anytime Rooster talks about guns or equipment or anything military, that's all stuff I've researched. That is not me. And so there was a lot of fear on my end of, oh shit, how do I do this? And there were many out of character. Is this the call he would make? I remember sitting right before Mustang during the break.
Yeah.
Right when the smoke grenades went out. Everybody went to break, and I said, okay, Dan, help me, because I don't know. This is what I think I should do, but what should Rooster be doing? Is this the right call? Just so that I sounded like I knew what I was doing.
Sure.
And you did.
Well, and with the rescue, there was the two competing desires going on there. There was Rooster, who was good, we found her, we get out.
Yeah.
And Rowan being like, no, I was not kept down here for nothing. We're finding out what's going on.
So many. That was my first real big info dump. You know, with all
That
of
was
them.
a big info dump.
Well,
How many
and
doors were there things behind?
And every time that you described an actual door, my player brain said, there's something important behind that, we're going there.
Mm-hmm. And my character brain went, no, we don't need to go in there.
And Rowan's like, fuck you, I'm like 40 pounds underweight, and we'll have
And I
nightmares.
just killed 22 men.
So, Rory and River are more quiet members of the team. You were also obviously very invested in the rescue because Rowan's still the LT. But what was that like for your characters, especially because I think in previous seasons, River and Rory have been a lot more just kind of following whatever the LT or the quartermaster say.
He never followed what I said.
Well,
To an extent.
But like, I know I saw that both of you took a lot more, were really taking a lot more agency to move things forward and to make those calls of like, do we look for the information enough? Do you guys have any particular thoughts on how that?
I mean, initially,
you?
Rory, it took everything in him not to like fully do a medical exam on Rory. Right when they found her, they were just like, okay, fine, I'll do it later.
That's two now.
Yeah, a couple different times that's happened.
When after you yeeted the piece of the pillar off of her.
Yeah, so
We'll
then
get there.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah, but
talking
you
about
all-
the rescue.
But you
That's
also
like-
did hotel room surgery, so I feel like
Yeah.
that kind of...
But I think like Rory and I think River too are more of the Ravenclaws of the group, for lack of a better term. So I think there's just like kind of agreed with Rowan, like, yeah, let's find out what we can about these guys while we're here because we're not getting back in here.
Yeah.
But then there's I think that competing part of Rory where half of him is like the Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff in him, kind of competing.
I mean, we didn't get back in there, apparently. Hold that up, please. Apparently someone else did because that rum showed up again.
I was going to say, give him a couple moments to mute.
Yeah, I didn't even get a chance to say, and this is where we're going to do a spoiler.
Sorry.
So,
All right.
Can I put it down?
yes,
Yes.
spoilers. We're clear. Spoilers are clear. Go ahead.
So, with the rescue, I'm very proud of how the hallway scene came out.
God, that was such a thing.
I wrote out beat by beat that story after watching Old Boy, Daredevil. Trying to think of what other hallway movie or hallway scenes are. The Raid Redemption. After watching those, I wanted to do that combat scene, but there was not a way that I was going to be able to be a narrator for it. So, but I can give all the beats and all the ideas. So I handed it off to Tiana, and Tiana put it in her own words and recorded it, and we fixed it here and there. There is a reason why this underfed, malnourished person whooped the shit out of 22 or 23.
So one got added in there somewhere. We're not quite sure what happened.
Better than one getting away.
How she whooped their ass. There's a reason, but we might get into that. Yeah, spite. Spite is power.
Spite and lack of caffeine.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's important to point out that we didn't hear, or the rest of the cast didn't hear that hallway scene until
it was done
about a week before it dropped, which was several weeks after we had recorded everything.
Yeah.
Our first exposure was you open this doorway and you see a hallway full of bodies.
After seeing Rowan covered in blood.
Okay, so I, again, being slightly, I knew a little bit. I knew that an Old Boy scene was going to happen. So I wasn't as shocked when we walked in, but then I heard it and I was like, yeah, that's an Old Boy hallway.
That scene took me forever to edit.
And speaking of editing, I have some more questions to ask you about editing later down the line, but this specific question did come in. I noted who it was, and I just have to look. But there was a question that said, how many sound effects were in that scene, and how long did it take you to edit, if you have any? I believe that was Danny who asked about that.
Sure. That scene was, 25 minutes long?
Yeah.
It took me well over a week. Now, this was partially because I was at Emerald City Comic Con when I was working on it, so I was not working on it the way that I do most episodes. But also, I was recording all of it. I didn't have to do all of the usual editing that I do for this podcast. There was a lot. There was a lot of discussion. There was a lot of discussion about the music because I was going to use the ba-da-dum clap music throughout, and Beth pointed out accurately that it didn't suit the whole scene. It needed to be when she was like, no, fuck you, I'm getting out of here. And then I did a whole thing where it was all of the like bone breaking and cracking and all of those like set things. And I listened to it and I went, it sounds cartoonish because there wasn't the human sounds involved.
Right.
So I had to go through again and add in grunts and cries of pain and sounds of bodies hitting the floor. I put a lot of work into that thing, and one of these days I'll take a picture of like the whole thing because
There was another pass where we listened to it and then said, it needs this here, and this here, and there were like 2 more versions after that even.
There was one, I think, that was named hallway scene with music and extra sounds of pain for flavor or something like that. I started picking up Dan's habit of and the way that he names things. That particular episode took longer than any other episode that I've ever worked on as far as like minutes go. I'm very proud of it. I'm very pleased with how it turned out. That's the sort of thing that I will use as like a resume piece someday.
That was how we got the thingy thing and the thingy thing.
Yep.
Well, and we were definitely putting a lot of feedback into that once we did hear it, and I think my biggest contribution is, wait, what if you just pause the music for this little gap right here?
That was great.
And it just, yeah.
Yeah, and that was something that I really did learn in this season, and I knew it cerebrally, but hadn't really absorbed it. The power of silence. Because most of the time I like to have something under whatever is going on with the mechanics of the interludes aside. But I like to have, some kind of ambiance or music or something. The moments where it drops out into silence, pure silence, with only like a narration like, yeah, it's in 13, it's safe, when the bomb went off. Dropping into that, because I considered putting a heartbeat under that. And I was like, no, this needs to just be silent.
It was better that way.
And I really, in this season, learned the power of silence. And that's something that I'll be using For better or worse, going forward.
Well, you did the same thing for the grenade and Mustang.
It was
didn't
not
you?
silence.
No,
Oh,
it's
was
not
there ringing?
silence.
It was tinnitus because you still got that ring in the heartbeat. It was not silence.
I haven't re-listened in a while. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I was actually just talking about the tinnitus today and how some people truly hate the sound that I used. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah,
It's meant to
I
be
did
as
forget about
uncomfortable
that.
for you as it
We
is
just
for the
have a
agents.
standing content warning for intensive sound effects for this entire podcast at this point.
I've got to the point where I don't even mark trigger warning gunshots anymore.
But we also have 500 bits from Duke Fleeg for the hallway scene. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Grace.
Thank you.
The one thing about the rescue that I do want to talk about is the change in the intros. Because up until then, it was
Up until then, it was all mine.
It was all flash forwards to where's Rowan, and then we had caught up. And so I don't remember whose idea it was to kind of split it up. We had 3 rescue episodes. Risha's going to take one, River's going to take one, I'm going to take one.
I don't think it was anyone's idea exactly. It was just
kind of-
sort of this has to happen.
Yeah, so we just, that was...
Wait, how are we going to get there? That's one of the things is Dan wanted to start
In
with
media
us
res.
meeting Rowan.
Yeah.
Kind of in the middle of things.
Like, well, how do we get there?
Yeah.
Well, the
How do
idea,
we even know where she is?
the original idea also was going to be, once we knew how we were going to get there, which we'll talk about, which we should talk about, is then we were going to say, well, we didn't have Joseph for all of season 2, so we should give the long explanation of how we got to Rowan be him. And then it just felt long and exposition-y.
It felt more like telling than showing.
Yeah.
And we do that sometimes, but we try to avoid it.
Speaking of telling but not showing, Total Party Chill just dropped a raid. Thank you for coming.
Hey.
We're in the middle of a talkback.
Welcome.
Come, listen and learn all the secrets of
I didn't
the
bring raid
Redacted
shades.
Reports.
Spoiler warning.
I didn't bring raid shades, but considering that we're talking about how we found Rowan,
Oh,
I did bring something else.
Oh no.
oh,
Hold on.
oh my
Oh
gosh.
my god.
Oh, and it lights up.
All
You
right.
probably be okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's whatever.
No, this one's Katie's.
The one that might fit on my head but won't fit on the big guy's head.
I mean, they're already snug, and you and I have larger.
Oh my gosh.
In case you were wondering,
It's an audio medium, everyone.
so I just walked over and put the helmet on Seth. Seth, will
lights
you
up.
describe this to us?
No.
Go on the Discord. There will be pictures.
So I have to say I'm extremely happy about this because that's exactly how I envisioned it.
Remember a few weeks ago when I said, you described it as on a rugby helmet. Is it actually on a rugby helmet? You're
Yes.
like, yeah. I'm like, good. Bye.
So, for those of you who just joined us, or for those of you who are joining us after the fact and listening to this in an audio format, Ben has built River's magical helmet. It is indeed a rugby helmet with a bunch of circuit boards printed to it. We will drop that in the Discord. But also, if you're just joining us from the raid, we are doing a talkback for the Redacted Reports, which is a podcast. It is the podcast distributed by Quests and Chaos, but edited and produced by our own Tiana Hanson. Please give it a listen. It's very fun, and you can get it on the ground floor before this thing explodes, like the bomb they just set off. Spoilers!
No, that's Idaho 13.
Sorry,
you don't have
sorry.
to hold it up for that.
I will revoke your whiteboard privileges.
Oh no!
Well, you gave me a wet erase pen, and I
I
wasn't.
did not give you anything.
I was planning on writing things differently just for fun's sake, and then I
Got your
realized I
hands
wasn't
covered
gonna.
in green ink.
Yeah, it looks like back when I was teaching.
With the hunt, not the hunt, the rescue. One of my favorite NPCs dies.
It was
really-
really tragic.
I really liked the G.
Really
man.
liked
I love the work that Tiana and I put in to have that interaction from the beginning. From when I started in Shrimp Farm. When I first started, I was, the first character I introduced was that character, and then it just grew from there. And then I realized that could be the effectively the quest giver character.
Yeah.
And
But we had to fulfill the Chekhov's broken piece of mirror that turned into a knife.
Yeah.
Like that was a thing pretty much from the beginning when you came in, where it was like at some point she's going to stab him in the neck with this piece of glass. We don't know when, but at some point this is going to happen because she's getting out.
Yeah, those scripted intros were a lot of fun to do. Now we haven't done those again, but we might do them again in the future. But yeah,
Reserve the right to do them again.
yes,
The lights are on that white thing in the front. There's a switch.
We got 300 bits from Lex, just enough eyes to Ben for building and programming an Arduino for the hat.
Okay.
We also got another raid from Radio Live. Thank you, Ray. It's good to see
Welcome.
you. I believe Ray was just doing a cry-through of the Call of Cthulhu video game. Notoriously terrible. Oh, he cried a lot. I did too when I played it.
If I can say, Lex, thank you for way more credit than I deserve.
Nope.
don't need to know.
Don't reveal the secret.
No, just let me finish.
Beep. Redacted.
I was just gonna say, it's not Arduino. I did something different.
We will post pictures in the Discord, so if you're not in the Quests and Chaos Discord, you can hop in there and find our Redacted Reports section, and there will be pictures of a bunch of stuff at some point, probably also screen caps when we can get them, of the insanity that is the editing of the hallway scene.
Yes,
We'll see if we can get a few of those at some point.
Before I delete all of the working files, I'll take pictures of a few things.
So I got some questions for those of you that were at the audition game. Did you guys like the tidbits that I dropped in?
That fucking globe.
That fucking monkey.
I had forgotten the globe until
You
they
said
reminded
something.
me.
Yeah.
I remembered it instantly as soon as we saw that because I remembered that being a thing in the audition game. So for those who aren't aware, before we brought Dan on as the handler for this,
Oh God, I know where this is gonna go to.
we wanted to make sure that he jived with us. We wanted to make sure that his way of telling stories matched ours. So we brought him in for an audition game. It was supposed to be 1 session, 3 hours, a proper con game.
1 session, guys.
2 sessions and 6 hours later, I think it's closer to 7 actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had played through a scenario that Dan wrote as a con game. This partially took longer because we dove headfirst into the role playing, as we do.
I was the dilettante. It was fun.
He was playing Amy as Amy's character in season 2 of GDS.
Yeah, complete with lots of Carlton screams.
Don't tell them too much. If you're a patron, you might get to hear this game someday. That's a spoiler.
Soon.
So if you're not a patron, I highly recommend you check out our Patreon.
You only need $5 per month to
Yeah.
get that one too.
You get so much extra content. We're actually trying to reduce the amount of content you get because we don't want Tiana to lose her actual real life sanity. So we're trying to mitigate that. But yeah, that's a game that some of you will be hearing sooner rather than later.
Sorry, I fidget.
You do. That's why I'm about to take away your whiteboard privileges.
Oh, second time.
So, okay, we've gotten a little bit off the track of the thing that I have, which is fine. I knew that was going to happen. I've heard the podcast. 3-hour talkback, guys. It's fine. But I think now's a good pause point. We got some mystery boxes in front of us, and I don't know what kind of horror stream we would be if we didn't open some mysterious boxes with no
What's
warning.
in the box?
So, should we start with the one that's in front of you, Tiana?
Sure.
Who's this from? What is this? What's happening?
This is from Bonnie, aka Crochet Guinea Pig. To everyone at TRR headquarters, thank you for everything you do. But I'm not going to read the rest of the note just yet because here. Since you had the octopi attack you on the island. Hope you all like these little guys. Just be aware they feed on horror. All the best.
For those of you in the audio,
Red string. They're wrapped up with red string.
those of you in the audio medium, a large bunch of tissue paper wrapped red string tied small crocheted octopi were just yeeted at Ben.
I have been waiting to do
Oh
that.
my god, they're so much cuter in person, and they're super adorable online.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
You did that in unison.
Tiny
Did
little
we?
brain suckers.
Yes.
Good.
Dan and Ben both put their octopi on their heads.
Yes.
That's where they belong, right?
We will put photos again in the Discord and probably on the Patreon as well. Adorable.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Bonnie.
Bonnie.
Thank you.
I love our community.
Our community is pretty fantastic.
I think everybody kind of noticed, even in the first season that I was on. I cherish, the fandom. You guys don't have to listen to us. You guys don't have to give us the feedback and dive into it and be so engaged, and you are, and it absolutely gives us life. On Sundays and on Thursdays and Wednesdays when the episodes drop and people do the live commentary, it just, it's so good.
Best days of the week.
I frequently stay up much later than I should Sunday nights because it drops midnight Sunday night, Monday morning, and I stay up entirely too late watching some of the reactions.
You're awake at human times on Monday. I see you online.
That is the unfortunate side effect of the job that I'm working right now.
No, even without that, I see you online so you can see horrid reactions.
True, it's great.
So yeah, there was fan service in the last 2 episodes of Vitus 12 and 13. I don't care. I wanted to give back to a community that's been amazing to us, and yes, if there is an apocalypse, I am putting your names on mannequins, as creepy as it is, to make sure that you do survive, because you guys do mean that much to us.
Yeah.
That's for the mannequins.
At least you didn't blink and they didn't move closer.
Wow.
Is
Yeah.
it really a horror podcast if there aren't a bunch of weird mannequins that no one can explain?
Apparently not. If there's mannequins that turn up in the 4th season, I'm going to burn everything down and walk away.
You threaten that a lot.
I like setting things on fire.
Well, there were
Okay, Mom Droste.
there were mannequins in Idaho.
Yes.
Yes.
There was a house that was lit on fire in Idaho.
Yes.
The two were not necessarily correlated.
No, there was.
Yeah, at least two on fire.
Yeah.
And again,
And only
it
one of
wasn't
them.
my
And
fault.
only one of them was our fault.
But hey, that's okay.
But
it
they
wasn't
were
purchased.
rentals. Is
It
the
was a rental.
problem.
We treat them like rentals. Do we want to open the second box or do we want to save that for later?
That's up to you guys. Do you want to open the second box now while we're fully off the rails before we dive into the heavy stuff?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Great.
Dan?
Cool. I'll trade you the box for the bottle opener, if you please.
Oh,
My good
would you
man.
mind passing one of those over this way too?
Ooh, packing sealed air. Thank you, guys. Ooh, there's more. Look, there's more.
Cool.
Ooh, what is this? Fascista. Ooh.
So for the podcast people, there's a notebook where the cover is our red string board.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna hand that to Ben. Send that down.
Oh my god, we all get them? And there's a hand ink print on the back cover too, which is also just too
This is
cool.
horrifying on
And
a
the front.
whole new number of levels.
Oh my god!
I mean, it's the handbook.
Wow.
For those of you
How
who
did I-
had
to
802 for quitting the podcast.
To paraphrase, how did I miss that?
Good question. Would you pass me the bottle of
Cider or the other?
Thank you.
Cider, please.
All right. So my question is who sent this?
That is from Bon Clansing,
Thank you very much, Mom.
our favorite queen of the swag throne.
Queen of the Swag Throne. Your title is getting challenged. We look forward to seeing you in chat next month so you can reclaim.
Swag for the swag throne.
This is so cool. I love this.
And you know what? This is going to help my writer's habit because the first thing to do as a writer is make a stack of notebooks. And second thing is never to use them because your ideas aren't good enough for the cool notebooks.
It's true. Although I might use this to start keeping notes because, spoiler alert, I have not yet written Rowan's reports. That's one thing I plan to do coming up in the next month or so.
The nice thing about being the low int character is it almost makes it better when I don't know what's going on because I haven't taken notes.
Hey, Ben, what happened to Chris Price in Mustang? That's what we call a callback. All right. So glimpse behind my, I used to lead talkbacks for a living curtain. My next 2 sections are going into the in time and space questions, of which there are many, some of which I will be rephrasing or holding back. And then there's a whole bunch of general questions. Do we want to keep moving forward, discuss the big N, talk about in time and space, and then we'll get some of the broader overview stuff that I think touches on a little bit of that too?
Before we do that, can I talk just one thing? Just mainly just because I want to brag. How amazing and emotionally draining it was to record the coda.
Oh, yes, that is part of the rescue.
At the end of Rescue, when Rooster takes Rowan home, I had known we were going to do that for a while.
We talked about it.
Yeah.
We actually had to record that twice because the first time Ben and I wanted to be in the same room when we did it. But audio-wise, it didn't really work, and really from a character perspective, it didn't really work either because Rowan was locking down, and I spent a lot of time not looking at you during that. So the audio was garbage, and I listened to it back and went, no, for once, Rowan is not going to prioritize other people's feelings and thoughts right now. She's going to tell Rooster to shut the fuck up in the most polite way possible.
And I remember we had a check-in, not even formally at the end. It was an immediate, you looked at the camera and just goes, Ben, you know that was Rowan, right? And I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Because when one of your best friends is hurting like that in front of you, even if it's in character, you're just like, yeah.
And yes, as much as Ben wanted to hug Tiana, it was not really in Rooster's character to hug Rowan. So the best we got out of that was the head pat, which was hilarious to me.
Because he would totally do that. Anyway, I just wanted to touch on that because I didn't want, because it's not technically one of the ones. We had some weird naming conventions as part of this experiment in season 3.
That was a thingy thang, right? With Yang?
That was the thingy thing. The thingy thing was the hallway.
Yes.
So we had a lot of interludes. We had a lot of home character building stuff. And I think it's really nice to focus on hope. Because in the world of Delta Green, it's scary. Like, there's shit that's happening out there that is going to swallow our souls and, eat our universe and destroy our reality. And why do we fight back? Why do the people of our cell? So trying to have a semi-normal family life for these players, or for these characters, excuse me, has been a focus. Their relationships with their significant others and family aren't perfect. I hate playing Jen. I think they're some of the best scenes that I've gotten to play, just because, I don't like her.
Wait, Jenna
Wait,
or
Jenna?
Jen?
Jenna. Oh, you said Jen.
Jenna.
I was
Jenna.
like,
No.
Jen's gotten a lot better.
I like Jen. Rivers family. I absolutely love the Rivers family story.
The problem is I want to do more scenes with Jenna just to see you squirm. I hate having to play against Jenna.
And then, stories with Andrew. Andrew's interesting.
Andrew's scary.
Andrew's interesting in that the fact that he thinks he's doing really good stuff.
Which brings us to, of course, the one missing character, the one missing agent here. We're missing Agent Rover.
I thought you were talking about Quinn.
Yeah, I was going to say. No,
Well, no, of our cell. I'm sorry, of our cell. But here's Agent Rover.
Oh my god.
Oh my God,
Oh
his
my
tag.
goodness.
Hey.
Oh, it says Chase.
Aww.
That is adorable.
I do have to sidebar and ask one quick question then, because this was a question that was asked. How old is Chase?
I hadn't thought about that.
He was like 6 months old when we
Yeah.
Yeah, he was young when we did the first
Shaver
episode,
Lake.
Shaver Lake.
That was October of 20.
Shaver Lake was August.
August, sorry, that was
August
August of 20.
So
minus
probably
6,
early
so-
20. He was a pandemic baby.
So March of 20 was when he was born. Do the math. I'm not going to do that.
He's a little over 2 years old at this point.
I was told that when Chase is on episodes, people go crazy. So yeah, I'm gonna lean into that.
He's cute.
because Chase is fantastic, and Chase has been trying to tell the truth and save Arcel from the beginning.
He's the only one who knows.
Ball.
Love Dad.
Ball. Oh, by the way, for podcast
horrifying.
listeners, there is now a stuffed chocolate lab with a camouflage collar and a tag that says Chase sitting in front of Joseph.
Yeah, we do a lot of visual gags for being a
Yeah.
primarily audio medium,
To
but
be
we'll do
fair.
our best to describe. It's the only,
gotta
it's the
make it-
only time we're
Yeah,
on
we
video.
gotta make it count.
So I will have you know, I've had to rescue Chase from my nearly 2-year-old daughter 3 times now.
You took a stuffed animal from your child?
I think this means that there's babies in the future of Arcel, is what I'm hearing.
Don't look at Rowan.
But what I am going to do is bring it back around because we actually set this up really beautifully because you were bringing up the family scenes and how much you do or don't like playing as a family. And that is actually where I wanted to start us talking about Act 3 in Time and Space, which was truly the explosion of the red yarn ball that you have been slowly picking at for the last
I mean, this
2.5 seasons.
is only before In Time and Space.
Yes.
We're
Yeah,
going to
this
have
is
to.
already out of date.
We're going to have to redo it now.
This
at
is a
the-
literal board that is on my wall.
Yes. If anybody wants to see what the red string board looks like, you can go to the Instagram and you can see close-up photos of it. But this is an actual red string board that is hanging on our real-life Agent Rory's wall.
And
It was the
also,
first decoration you had in your
Yeah.
new place when you moved to the Bay.
and also, special thanks to Liana for helping Joseph with that. With all of the printing, the laying things out,
Yeah.
having drinks, and like pinning a lot of red yarn all over
Yeah,
the place.
and for hanging it up.
Thank you so much, Liana. We truly appreciate your assistance with that because I Joseph was staying with me for a little bit while he was looking for a place to live.
And we kind of like were thinking like we should do this.
We were talking
and we kind of
about
like
it.
placed it out,
And
then I
and-
took it and ran with it, and then Leanna helped a lot.
Oh, that was at least partially because I was like, this is a great idea. I do not have the time, energy, or mental space for this. I can't. Can you take this? And you did. And my God, the two of you far exceeded anything that I could have thought of. Also, huge thanks to our fans on the Discord that we reached out to for writing articles, for photoshopping
Oh, yeah.
pictures, for
forgot,
putting
yeah.
putting all of that stuff together.
And there was more that we didn't even use.
There was a couple things that we forgot, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And there's going to just be so much more now.
Now,
It-
before we
Yes.
go all off into ITAS, during after the rescue, and there is a lot of information that I kind of dropped that wasn't resolved. You know, it's kind of like there's a new arc because there was a focus on Rowan really in seasons 1 through 2 and 2/3 of the way through season 3.
Most of the ways you see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that arc is done. But we've got seeds for the next arc. So yeah,
Everybody just swiveled head.
it certainly looks at the rogue,
Yeah.
the one that's 1/8 out of time, out of step.
Who's apparently seeing ghosts or something. I don't know what's up with Javier.
And the second you said 1/8 out of time in recording, my music brain went, ah!
Yes,
Are you sure you guys aren't on the Twitch because you are all very specifically hitting keywords and questions?
I
that
am
are coming up
deliberately
in
not
the
looking at the Twitch.
It's getting a little bit eerie, but then you are the telepath, so that doesn't surprise me.
Stop
I'm
projecting,
just psycho.
that's all.
So, to bring it back in for like one brief moment of focus before
I
we
love
go
how
fully
she
off the
thinks she
rails
has
again.
control.
ball, BAL, ball.
From the end of the rescue arc throughout the arc of In Time and Space, we saw a lot more of the agents at home, dealing with their families and their personal lives. How did that affect the character's journey to try to pursue the various red strings that they picked up on through the information from the bunker? I'm going to read a whole bunch of questions because they're all kind of the same question. They relate to this. Following up to that, how did incorporating all of these family presences really affect the weight of the character choices you had to make? There's one particular episode that I know gets really heavy towards the end. If you're not fully through the episode, we are going to talk specifically about episode 10, where some very weighty stuff happens, but we'll get to that in time.
And space.
Space.
Drink.
I'll just go. You don't need me. And you know, how did being at home, being with families, like this is something that we've normally only seen in the interludes, and this sort of exploded the concept of the interludes to being the act itself. What was that like? How did that affect your character choices? How was that for you, Dan, on the kind of planning side, and you know, how did that affect or not your?
It made it easy.
And how happy were you that we had Elena and not Jenna?
Yeah, I'm happy that I have Elena. It really did make it easy because if I needed to lean on a topic, I could just lean on one of the family things. Or what would the people that don't know or know very little about the story, how are they going to react? Because heavy shit, right? A lot of stuff that could have gone wrong and did go wrong, and stuff that did go right. You know, how is it impacting them? So I could just basically toss out that steak and let the piranhas just go to town. You know, introducing the innocence of Katie to things. That's a fun little storyline to throw in. The not so innocence of Elena. But that's a whole another story too. And, you know, we've got the innocence of Chase, you know, our superhero, the one that's the whole reason. So, yeah, it was like I said, it was easy. It was something to elicit a response from my players, and it worked. And elicit a response from you guys.
And it worked.
And it
Jonathan
worked.
and Casey.
Huh?
And Jonathan and Casey.
Jonathan and Casey, yeah.
Which also reminds me.
Aha!
There it is.
Woo!
Oh, there's two. Oh, one is probably for me.
It's a packing bag in the handbag.
Oh my God, you're my uncle.
Ben just handed Tiana some incredibly gay bags. And when I say that, I mean they are the pride flag.
No, those are literally the rainbow IKEA bags. They can't
Nice.
Yeah, I've seen them at
Thank
IKEA.
you.
I have 5 of those in my house because when I saw them, I'm like, I need these. So
I planned and I had fun with this.
All right.
Seth's was the hardest.
Yeah.
I was asking everybody I know, hey, do you have any tech scrap? Hey, do you have any tech scrap? And then I open it up and I'm like, this is nothing like the tech scrap when I was a kid where there were all kinds of parts.
You're totally not a tinfoil hat.
Well,
I thought I was this close to putting tinfoil on there.
No.
I tried. I held back just for you.
do you guys have a favorite NPC besides Ophelia?
I mean,
from this season, let's bring focus in.
Good guy or bad guy? I mean, you know, ally or, you know, friendly or not.
what do you think, Seth?
Neville.
Neville?
Neville's very cool.
That was fun.
I'm excited to see. I'm excited to find out more about him.
I am totally, River is totally suspicious of him now, and things might happen.
Oh boy.
Oh dear.
Jonathan Powell, especially because I've now met the real JF Powell, which, for the record, I didn't know until after we finished the game that his name was Jonathan, because I knew JF Powell from Twitch, and then he just put his character name on Zoom. And at the end, Dan called him Jonathan. I'm like, God damn it.
And you were such a dick about filling that limey bastard.
I still think it would have been easier on him.
Oh, well, he still would have shown up.
And yeah, I was gonna say, which one of him?
But no, I love the character despite all of that. I love how he's just sort of like, oh, yeah, well, this is awkward. And just sort of taking it in stride and refusing to admit how fucked up it is.
Joseph, what do you think?
There was a lot of good NPCs this season.
Chase
This
is
is
always a
understood.
good boy.
Yes.
This is
Chase is
Chase and Andrew are
everyone's.
understood. I know a fan favorite was the captain at the very end of Idaho 3.
Captain Jack.
Captain
Jack.
was very good. I love them.
Pronoun is captain.
Yep.
That was another 2 a.m. thing of being like, yep, their pronoun is captain. Write it down, make it real.
One of the more infuriating NPCs were the whole staff at St. Joseph's.
I'm surprised that building didn't get lit on fire, to be perfectly honest.
Watching your face during the recording, because I was on mute, it was just watching Joseph try not to climb out of Rory and strangle Dan was amazing.
Yeah, for someone that actually works in healthcare, it's just like,
I also work in healthcare. I'm healthcare adjacent. I work for a patient assistant program. So I understand HIPAA. I have to be drilled on HIPAA laws all the time. And all of those acts were all deliberate.
Of course. Oh God, they were infuriating.
yeah.
Like when Rowan was talking about Rory's rant, that was partially the player who has worked in healthcare, also going, yeah, no, I know what rant I would do if it was me.
Yeah, so that was, I mean, it was a fun, I liked the environment of St. Joseph's.
I didn't.
Yeah. Like the idea, I like the concept of it.
I loved hating it.
Yeah.
That's
I'll
good.
go with that.
That's good to know.
Yeah, I did like the professor at, that we
Peasley.
Oh, yeah.
He was very cool.
We still need to talk to his son at some point.
Yeah.
We're not. I don't want to go to Burbank.
No, we can call him. There is this invention called telephones.
Rowan refused to use telephone, though.
I was going to
Yeah.
say, you guys used to have them. I'm not sure how many of you still do after this season.
I do. I mean, we all have them again. We all got phones. We all have good jobs.
Some of us are, I was going to say smart enough, but no, probably Rooster's just too dumb to know how to use a QR code in the
Rooster's
first place.
not dumb. Rooster's not stupid at all.
Yeah.
There's a difference between dumb and stupid.
Yeah, one means you
Yeah,
stop talking,
you're definitely
one
not
means you don't know
dumb
things.
because he talks a lot.
Thank you, Lock and Stock, for the 400 bits and giving me an excuse to interrupt so that I can ask another question.
I
Because
didn't get to
still have
answer
so
the
many-
NPC.
Oh,
My
yeah,
apologies.
great. Then you should answer that so that, guys,
Sorry.
I still have 3 pages. No, it was an excellent question. I'm glad you asked it, but I still have 3 pages of questions that have also been submitted, and I'd like to get to at least 2 more of them before 10 p.m.
I mean, the two that I like the most, or the two that I love to hate, is the G-Man and Father. They were both. They both pulled things from Rowan and from me that I didn't expect were there, and it was interesting to see how differently she responded to both of them, even though they were very similar in some ways. There was a lot of emotional and mental manipulation happening on both fronts. And even though I was aware it was happening, getting to play into that was one of my favorite things. And of course, I love Jonathan and Casey. Like, I mean, how can you not? And Rowan would have absolutely jumped Captain Jack's bones if she could have. But she was
Best
amazing.
line in the podcast so far. Damn it, I should have waited for a half second longer.
We who are about to die are horny.
Jonathan is based off of a friend of mine who is recently moving. I think he might have either moved to Seattle or Chicago, but he's my friend Jeremy, and I imagine him every time that we play, and how he would react, and I think I nail it.
There's a double meaning in that.
Let's go back to those questions that Alondra mentioned.
I was just going to say, this leads into a whole different line of interesting questions that I didn't have on my list, but I'm curious to ask. Maybe I'll throw them in at the end when we get to the lightning round. Okay, so huge alert that we're going to talk about major endgame things that happen. It's not from the interludes, it's from the second half of the last third of the season.
Yeah.
Act 3, Part 2.
Actually, part 2.
Didn't think there would be math tonight, did
Just
you?
putting a big gloss of warning on that. If you're not caught up and you care about spoilers, now's the time to go make a cup of tea and come back in a few minutes.
But give us bits first.
But give us bits if you want. Join our Patreon, join the Quests and Chaos Patreon, hop in the Discord. Somebody will let you know when we're done talking about this. But this is... I labeled this the mechanics of madness so that I would remember what it was. This season, we saw 2 of the 4 members of our cell hit breaking points for their sanity.
Hit a breaking point or just temporary?
No,
Okay.
he just...
So 2 counts of temporary insanity and 1 breaking point.
And 1 breaking point. Excuse
Two away.
Okay, you're right. I did my math wrong on that.
That was too close.
We hit a lot of madness. And when I say madness, I do mean actual mechanical madness, temporary insanity, and a breaking point, which do have mechanical effects on the characters. First, the major first one, of course, was we finally saw River's book really take its toll and unlock some things at a pretty significant cost. And then, of course, by the time we get to the island at the end, we did see Rory actually hit a true mechanical breaking point in his sanity. So I would love to toss this over, starting with Seth and then going to Joseph. How do you want to talk about how any of that affected how you played, how you approached the character? How much did you anticipate knowing that you were maybe nearing a break point, or that you were delving into the kind of unknown that could touch that sort of thing? And did that affect the way you played your character at all? And what was it like having to deal with the consequences? Especially, I know for you, Seth, you actually had a mechanical consequence from your insanity that you had to deal with through the rest of the season and keep track of. So let's start there.
Well, was that a consequence of the insanity or, well...
Who's to say?
Anyway.
Column A, column B, put them together and we get whatever.
Is there really a difference?
Fair.
I mean, the actual, incidents of temporary insanity, we kind of glossed over with a couple of sentences of,
Thank God.
you just lost a week and did horrible things to your family. So it was.
You didn't do horrible things to your family. You were just mean.
Yes.
It was just me.
To be clear, because this is a horror podcast and we do talk about some horrible things.
Yeah.
But it was mean. And mean stuff is not cool.
It's very insensitive.
Right.
Yes, but it's better than some mean, horrible things that you could do to your family.
Yes.
And dealing with that aftermath did hit me. Because, in real life, if I had a family like that and I watched my wife drive away and didn't know if she was ever going to come back, that would completely break me. And it was difficult, and that was, the end of not just the episode, but that session. So I had a week to stew on it, and Dan was very good at reassuring me it's going to be fine. Mechanically, the relationship had not been affected. But it was still that kind of role play is the most challenging for me. I don't necessarily enjoy it, but I like the results.
You're damn good at it.
It did lead down some interesting paths, and in the fact that there was a mechanical consequence unrelated to your family.
The mechanical consequence was interesting. I was also trying to pick up on some hints that Dan had given me and explain what was going on in River's mind and kind of extrapolating a bit and kind of ran that by Dan and said, does this sound reasonable?
Especially in the intro for the
I was going to say, having the intros the way we did this in that arc, I think lend itself to letting you kind of talk about it.
That was actually an interesting thing because we were talking about who should do which intro. And initially I said, no, I don't want to do that intro for immediately after that because all River is thinking is, oh shit, I messed up so bad. Eventually having, listening to the finished episodes leading up to that, I kind of realized where it should go and that it did make sense for me to explain what I thought was going on in River's head. And, the mechanics that Dan gave me as a temporary thing are very interesting. There are hints that there's more going on, and I honestly, I hope there is.
2 away.
So I find that very intriguing. And as for, the other part is, it was actually, there was that hit, and then there was in the cave, when we saw the tentacle thingies, I took a big hit to sanity. That's what put me 2 away.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
After that, I was certain that River was going to break before the season was over, and
I tried.
so
I think that's why I thought there were 2 breaks, is because I thought
I tried.
hit
so,
there.
so
I got
you know,
close.
I was planning out. Okay, what am I gonna do for his next? Because one of the things when you hit your breaking point is you get a new
disorder.
basic
Yeah,
disorder.
you get disorder.
And, the first, okay, River already broke before we even started playing. In his backstory, he broke because that's the backstory option I chose. So amnesia is a disorder. He's already insane. Yeah. Amnesia is a cop-out on my part because it's very easy to play. It's also, I love it because it gives Dan so many opportunities to mess with me, and he took advantage of that so much.
Yeah. And I will continue to do so.
Amnesia is very tasty.
But the amnesia doesn't really affect me that much as day-to-day mechanics. The next disorder probably will.
Yeah.
And I put some thought into what's that going to be like.
The end of that, when we were talking about, Jen is going to come back. I wanted to make sure that, like I said earlier, I want the NPCs, especially the ones that are part of the characters' lives, to be realistic and not make every perfect decision. There's been times when I've had to make some changes because of their actions may not have been in character, or my original plan may not have been in character. But with Jen, she needed to just go out and clear her mind for a bit, go for a drive, and then come back and then be like, all right, this is what we need to do. Because I think if in a good, healthy relationship, I think that's what some people would do, right? They would reassess and then come back to it and then plot out. That's what I would like in relationships to do. So, I'm kind of projecting what I want for, happy relationships, families, and friendships.
One of the beauties of a game like this is that you do have that option of you can create a certain degree of idealized relationship, and it's the dice that might mess with that, not human progress. I'm gonna, before we come back to Joseph to talk about Rory's madness, I do want to ask a very nerdy mechanical question as someone else who's played a lot of Delta Green, of Dan. When you do disorders, do you pick disorders that are custom to the characters based on their situation, or do you roll on the random table?
It's going to be absolutely situational.
Cool. I was just curious.
The randomized ones are fun when we look at if it's not something that I'm plotting long term or I don't have future plans, because then it just adds to stuff. But it's the disorder that we have now seems like it's going to be good.
I don't think we're going to talk about it because
Okay.
It hasn't been explicitly
it
named,
hasn't been.
so
Yeah,
I think
this
that's
is a character knowledge thing.
Yeah.
that no one in
you
this
get
fandom
to
has.
stick around for season 4
Yeah.
and try to find out what really fully has happened to
So
Rory.
I don't know
here's the
anymore
thing.
than-
It's we're gonna, and this is gonna probably expose my hand a little bit, but it's not even a spoiler. We talked about what that disorder would be. We detailed that disorder, but I have more details, a lot more details, and it's not as simple as we originally
Yeah,
thought.
you've told me a little bit. and the
Oh,
little bit you
I've
told
got
me,
more.
Yeah,
Oh, goody.
it's gonna be.
I've
fun.
even asked for a specific sound effect.
Yes, he has.
Oh boy.
Which means I know a little bit more.
But
Nope.
you all are going to
Yeah,
have to
you're gonna have to
stick
wait.
around because not even everyone at this table knows what all of that means, including Rory himself. But how was that for you? You come back,
Yeah.
you get out of Alaska, you come back to rejoin the team,
Yeah.
and then an Old Testament God comes and
Yeah,
breaks your brain.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
He's like, can I go back to Alaska now?
But that was after spending like most of Big Sky, like so close to my breaking point.
Right on the edge.
And then I kind of got back a little more buffer room throughout Alaska and Idaho. And then I wasn't even that really close during In Time and Space, but I lost 13 sanity in one go. So anything more, is it 10 or more?
Yeah.
To cause temporary insanity.
It was 11, wasn't it?
I don't remember, 10 or 11. It was more than that.
Yeah.
Will cause temporary
lot.
insanity, and then I also passed my breaking point. with that.
So
And so,
Well, unless what would it be? Your power was more than 13, that would immediately hit your breaking point.
my power is 13. So,
yeah.
but yeah, like the temporary insanity was interesting because even I don't think this came through on the edit, but we kind of talked about like, okay, what would Rory do? Would he like fight, flee, or
Fight, flight, or freeze.
yeah, or freeze? And we kind of decided on he would try to fight it and kind of go kick back on that soldier training mindset, just kind of regress a little bit, that was kind of interesting to play out a little bit because obviously it wasn't ideal character-wise decision, but
Well, and I'm going to disrupt, and Dan, you
Yes.
can correct me if you guys are playing this differently, but for those of you who are maybe a little new to the Delta Green system, because we have had some people ask about questions about the system itself, one of the things that often is set up in Delta Green is that for your character, you choose from the fight, flight, freeze, sometimes we include faint, but usually fight, flight, or freeze, what is the order in which your character would do those, and then, I don't know if you guys do this, when I've played, you roll to see which of those you hit. Did you guys just kind of go in order and decide
No, we
that
just
was the
kind
most
of
likely
talked-
reaction?
At that point, I'm going to ask the player what do you think would fit there, and obviously provide my input. It's the idea of player agency, because when you force something like, oh, you're going to flee, and then the player's like emphatically, I will not run away. All right, maybe you won't run away. Maybe you'll run toward them. So, give them a chance to role play as long as it fits in that broken narrative, right? Where where they're not thinking logically, where they're doing things like, unleashing your magazine on a gigantic kaiju that's coming up out of the water.
it's gonna help.
Yeah.
Or your gunnery sergeant.
Yeah,
Or the gunnery
he was in
sergeant.
the way. He was in the way.
It was his fault. To
Not
be fair.
just in
Wasn't
the way. He was trying to take your gun.
Yeah, this is on you a little bit.
This one was your fault.
This is kind of your fault.
What else is new?
There was a
Double zeros are bad, right?
Triple zeros are bad.
Yeah.
Double zeros can be good.
There was a point in one of the Discord channels, and I know we talk about the Discord a lot, but we're very active, and but I knew this was coming. Like I had this plot of having Ball was going to show up somehow,
Ball.
and I made a comment about this game needs more kaiju
Yeah.
a long time ago, and I screenshotted it.
And he throws it at us periodically.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, whatever, and then we get to the finale. Yeah, I got kaiju.
Fucking kaiju.
Yeah.
Can I just say, or do you want to wait until we talk about that Rory's madness more?
Is there anything more that you want to add to that?
Yeah, just the playing out the fighting towards it, and then when we finally hit, like you tried to kind of get through to Rory and failed miserably, and then Rowan tried to make that because it is in the rules it has to be a psychotherapy skill, which you just had the base, which is like 10,
Yeah.
right?
It was one of those, I wanted persuasion so badly because I've got like a 60-something in persuasion, but
and-
it made sense.
and you somehow got the role,
Ought 3.
which Rory is the one with the psychotherapy skill, which
He's the doctor, the psychotherapist, the strongest one.
And a soldier.
Yeah.
And a soldier.
yeah. So it was just once we finally got that, just have Rory just like collapsing just made so much sense
Yeah.
to me, and it was an interesting seeing you guys kind of have to deal with that.
I just remember I almost collapsed as the player because the whole time it took forever between
You set off the
he's
bomb.
trying to between
Yeah.
Dan saying he's trying to take your gun and oh my god, Rooster lives. That took like 3 hours. And I was
In his head,
already
anyway.
thinking to myself, okay, am I going to go with the character that was originally supposed to replace Rooster when he died, which Rowan will strangle? Do I come up with something? In my head, I was like, Rooster's dead. There's no fucking way.
I mean, you could probably survive one gunshot.
But then
Rowan did for like 3 whole seasons.
Yeah, River did.
Yeah.
And you were wearing full body armor. That's a -5 harm.
Yeah, but like point blank, just
Still.
pop, pop, pop.
Yeah, like if I hadn't missed, I think we probably would have been fine, or like worst case, they would have had to either help Rooster with the gunshot or
Yeah.
like Yeah.
I mean, adrenaline was high. Rowan dragged a body, helped drag a body across the island with broken ribs. So
This is getting a little bit too much into what if.
Sorry.
Yes, I was going to say, and I'm actually going to shut this down for that exact reason, because I already
Sorry.
told them that I was going to.
Yeah.
But I am going to use this to throw to Dan, because this was something that came up that I think you did want to mention, is the finale of Season 3 did involve a lot of moving parts, and there were a lot of decisions that had to be made split second. You're going in initiative order, everyone's at distance, there's so many things going on, and everyone sort of just had to make their own character choices, which leads to a lot of possible outcomes. So, Dan, did you want to talk a little bit about how you prepared for so many possibilities of what could happen?
So oftentimes I get things in the middle of the night, like in dreams or whatnot. And I wake up and I send a message to the group being like, I got an idea, and I wrote it down. And they're like, what's the idea? And I don't tell them what it is. So I had a concept of how I wanted this season to end, this entire scenario. And I thought, I'm like, all right, cool. This could happen. All right, no, they're going to go ahead and screw this up and do it this way. No, they're going to do it the right way. And I created a flowchart, and I had 16 different outcomes. I'm not going to tell you what they all were, but I accounted for everything. And this isn't me being that, haughty GM that's like, oh, I planned for everything. No, I legitimately went through everything from whether, father survives, father gets arrested, father dies, one of the characters die, bomb doesn't go off, bomb goes off, all of those things. And I created a flowchart, and they did one of them. Now, there were some changes. I did not expect Seth to kill father. Or, excuse me, not Seth. I did not expect River to kill father. But
Neither did we.
but it was fantastic, and it fit, and I was so happy. Now, it came across really well on the audio, because normally when we play, we don't have initiative order. And because Delta Green really doesn't have much of an initiative system. But what we did is everybody was quiet, and we went by the actions of, do you have an idea of what you want to do? Raise your hand. Because we do play with, over a Zoom call, so we can see each other's lovely faces and see physical reactions. So I would call on people as they had their items and kind of go in an order. But it made sure that everybody had the chance to have enough of the limelight and spotlight to do their thing without other people, jumping in and not necessarily stealing the spotlight, but, because they all had ideas, and it was like, all right, wait your turn. And everybody did, and it worked out fantastic. So we're going to be doing that again in other, hyper tense situations, which might come up in season 4.
Can't imagine how.
Nope.
No, I enjoyed it, because in the outtakes, Joseph did suggest that we actually go by dexterity and do initiative orders, and I mean, that might have been cleaner in some ways, but this felt more realistic.
Yeah. And it could work that way. I was quite happy with how that turned out. Yeah. As for all the different plot lines and possibilities and outcomes, I prepared for this. And
I've heard some of them.
Yes.
They're interesting.
I haven't.
And you're not going to hear tonight live.
Nope.
That's for all of you to discuss at your own discretion. But the rest of you will just have to live in the knowledge that there are so many things that could have happened, but they didn't, because the characters made the choices that they made, and this is the outcome that we got.
Okay, I legit want to see this, because I know our Discord. I want to see your brackets for the flowchart.
My brackets or theirs?
No, theirs.
Okay.
I want to see Discord. Show me your flowcharts, or show us all your flowcharts. What's the decision? What's the outcome? And show us how it all ends up at 16 in your mind.
I think that could work well on the red string board.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then Dan will go, like he does a lot of mornings when we wake up, and there's just a gif of a cockroach going, good.
This is such a fascinating thing to me that I will not rabbit trail on, because I'm not the one who should be doing most of the talking here, but we'll talk about it off camera. This arc, obviously, given that we had 2 bouts of temporary insanity and a breaking point and just some generalized backstory-related trauma, this arc started to show us the impact that the stress of the job, the stress of dealing with the unnatural, all these things can have on specifically agents' bonds, because they're also, there could have been a lot more temporary insanity and a lot more breaking points, except that there was a lot of sanity pushed onto
Jenna.
the bonds with each other. So how has that affected anything, if anybody wants to talk about this, seeing those bonds start to splinter, having to deal with the consequences of some of those bonds breaking? You don't have to get into specifics. And how much do you think that's going to affect the agents staying with Arsal and continuing to fight the fight going forward?
I'm not going to go into specifics, but I think Rooster's the obvious one in this. Because I lost my
Spoilers!
purpose.
Spoilers! Wave this around a little bit. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I did not meta this. I picked, okay, Rooster's going to push it off on Breckenridge. And then I realized I lost 3. I was able to push off 3 sand loss, had exactly 3 in Breckenridge. Just worked that way. The interlude scene with Rooster sleeping, which for him seems like a good thing on the surface, but then not doing well at Breckenridge, thinking maybe he's fired, all of that, that was all a direct result of that breaking. Both a lot, blah, 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 words, I can do that. I decided in talking with Dan, how are we going to handle this, that Rooster basically stops giving a shit about Breckenridge.
I wouldn't say I've been missing work, Bob's.
Josh.
Right, office space.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
No, I know.
Don't touch my stapler.
Don't, I think that's my monster.
Yep.
But then we talked about it a little bit of Dan saying, okay, you're going to, we're going to make this a thing. And then tying into the whole thing about how Rooster's been, don't call it embezzling, but embezzling ammunition and equipment. All of that, and I know that that's going to be a thread moving forward for him. And literally, that's all I know, is that it'll be a thread. But that came out of that break.
Actions have consequences, and
And
that's it for
Welcome
For now.
interlude
For now.
spoilers For now, yes.
Though we might, because as we
there's
talk to
stuff
everybody else.
that's why we have this.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about your buns? What about you
I
guys?
didn't really push anything off. Maybe that would have helped. I don't know. But like,
Probably not when it mattered.
yeah,
So with somewhere
Yeah.
between 11 and 13,
yeah,
who
that's like
knows?
not going to do a lot there. Like Rory only has a couple bonds. I will just, yeah. For now, he's like as of like in Time and Space, he only really had 2 bonds, like his brother and his sister-in-law, and then his fiance. And so he had pushed a few sanity points off onto his brother in season 1, and I don't remember, probably other times too. And the first time I actually kind of interacted with them in character was in Time and Space, which was fun to kind of establish a little bit. And I kind of played like at least in my mind, I kind of played off that drop in the bond as, oh, they haven't caught up in a while. Maybe they aren't as close. They've missed out on a couple things, but it's not anywhere near broken. So I'm interested to see if that develops further on.
One thing that we did, and I don't mind saying that we retconned it, is we never really created for everybody bonds between all of the RSL members, but we've since resolved that, and you'll see that moving forward and in future seasons with bonds of the characters, because honestly they're now part of each other's lives. They're not just the guy that you call up to and that you do work with. No, they're friends. Which
I think up until maybe the rescue was probably like that.
yeah.
Well, before the rescue, after Shrimp Farm, Rooster had a bond with Rowan. Not vice versa, but he had a bond with Rowan. After the rescue, Rowan had a bond with all 3 of her boys because, they came and dragged her out of a really bad situation. And then we started dealing with all the rest of it.
Which is interesting because there was almost a thread of planting that earlier on, specifically in season 2 with the introduction of Quinn, because Quinn being the outsider almost set the tone for creating and establishing those bonds, because there was an immediate circling of the wagons to make sure that she didn't get too deep in anyone's head while your doctor was out.
And, you know, I would love to get Laura back onto the podcast in one form or fashion, and we may see Lena back again, you know, in the future. You know, I mean, hell, we've already had, you know, Lena's ex-wife show up in the story.
And nothing bad happened.
It's all fine.
Let's go
The
with
worst
that.
part was that I, the player, knew exactly who that was as soon as she showed up. I knew, because it was like, Sheila, Rowan had no reason to know. So I had to just like glare at the screen and be like, you bastard. But I couldn't, like, I had to respond as Rowan, who saw this attractive, you know, high power woman hitting on her and was like, oh yeah, no, I'm interested too.
I will be taking the book in the Discord for whose relation Rowan hooks up with in season 4. So you can put those in whenever you want.
Oh, that season. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
I'm just saying.
Can I
we've got
bet
a
on this
track
one?
record go- Yes, you may.
Blame Danny.
What?
Blame Danny.
Like
Always.
No, I was just gonna say we had talked about the potential / nope, that's not gonna happen about Rowan and one character before.
Oh.
I don't know if you wanted to talk.
No,
about
I don't
that
think
or
so.
not. Okay.
I was just joking because we do keep coming back around to we who are about to die are horny.
Yeah.
And you know what? It has not really come up much in the podcast, but Rowan is an ethical slut.
All right.
Yeah.
That is all of the specific questions that
I love everyone's reaction around the table.
I'm happy about that, but that was just like, that's right, we just went off a cliff on that one.
Great.
I was just like, yes.
And now we get into Alondra's rules of not tipping your hand too much in advance of things happening.
That's all I'm going to say on the subject, but yeah.
If any of that happens in season 4, I got a big fucking problem.
Yeah, you do.
I know. That's why you get to place bets.
I'm just waiting for Rooster to figure this out because the same way how he still hasn't figured out that Rowan is queer. Because anytime it comes up, he's distracted for one reason or another.
Never mind. Nope, not gonna go there. I'm not a red stringer. I'm just doing the debrief.
No, I've already been yelled at for saying he's dumb.
That's not where I was going. Okay, this is where I get to a big passel that I referred to as general questions. They don't fit to any one specific arc. They just kind of are overarching. We are also nearing the back third of our time here tonight, so I am going to treat this a little bit lightning round. Please be speedy if you can. Take turns. All of that sort of thing.
Why is she looking at me?
I actually was deliberately not, but if
I
you'd
know.
like me to, I can.
I was also deliberately not. So.
I know.
I do actually have some specific ones that say start with this person, come to this person last on certain questions, because I know how this game works. So, this was a question that was came to us through our Instagram. Were there any moments that hit you particularly hard emotionally? Popcorn style, just speedy.
I just 10.
I just 10.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that yet.
Do we want to talk about that? Now is the good time.
That was probably the group, like as a group, I think that was the biggest one that kind of hit everyone. There wasn't anything really specific for me besides just kind of the general heaviness of that episode. And then, of course, hitting my breaking point was fun.
I mean, weirdly, that one did not hit me as hard because Rowan has been thinking about things like, you know, when I walk into that island, I'm not walking back off again.
Mm-hmm.
So her updating her will was just something that I kind of threw. I did not realize how much of a bomb I had just dropped into the middle of the group by saying that she was going to go update her will because she did not expect to come back.
Well, it was that, and then
And then,
Joseph.
Yeah, and then I decided, there was something I'd been thinking about was like, what if Andrew finds those notes with Rory's stuff? And what if Rory's not there? Like, what? So I'm like, well, he would leave, like, now that Rory's thinking about that, he's going to leave a note with those notes that if Andrew does find them, like, hey, no, don't do that.
Don't try to res me. It doesn't end well.
Yeah, and for me, it's I already mentioned this is that the moment that River watched his wife drive off, it was a big moment for me.
Oddly for me, it was the pot scene. Because that was completely pulled from real experience for me. So that, and not planned, nothing like it. I just jokingly played a high character because it was on mission. Dan said yes and, I said yes and it just kept escalating.
Yes, Andin is really dangerous.
Yeah.
In
And,
this system.
and then it was just, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be high as a kite and not want to be, and I've been there. I know exactly how to draw this.
Well, that was a bunch of deep emotional stuff, and now I'm going to bring up a happy emotional thing because I don't have a more elegant way to do this. We have just triggered the Tavern Upkeep giveaway. We have hit 100% on our Tavern Upkeep for this month. Thank you so much. This was on a Redacted Reports stream, which is a little bit out of the ordinary. So, because this happened on Redacted Reports, we will do a Delta Green or D&D book of your choice giveaway on this Saturday's Call of Cthulhu live stream. So, back here, this channel, twitch.tv/questandchaos, 7 p.m.
6 p.m. 6 p.m.
6
on
p.m.
Saturday.
6 p.m. Pacific.
Specifically.
And so yeah, come back and join us, and we will make sure that happens. Thank you so much for supporting the Redacted Reports and for supporting Quest and Chaos. You guys are awesome. Now let's get back into some horrible things.
Get the Agent's Handbook. It's really cool.
Seriously.
Let me see. We've talked a lot about the fact that you guys do a lot of check-ins. We've even addressed tonight a lot of the things with safety tools, check-ins, but I did have multiple people submit the question, how y'all doing? You doing okay? Everybody feeling good?
I'm having a blast.
Just figured it's a good time to check in and see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now specifically or in general? Yeah, all the above, yeah.
Honestly, I'm fucking relieved. We're done with season 3, guys. We finished. We
We
made
literally
it.
Only
started
5
recording
episodes.
like almost a year ago.
Yeah.
Like in a couple months.
28 episodes of this
Over
particular
a
season.
huge chunk of time.
Plus
Yeah.
Brazil and Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this has been just an enormous, like, I did not think that the light at the end of the tunnel was going to be anything but a train until Sunday night. Frankly, this last Sunday night when I finished the interludes episode 4 hours before it was due to go to the patrons. I love you all very much. That's why the outtakes were late. I was out of town for my birthday. I had a great time, and I do not regret that at all. But the outtakes were late for that reason.
And you deserve it.
And
I
now we
did.
are giving random vacation.
Yep.
And now, yes.
Well,
We're
actually,
gonna get to that
okay.
at the end.
Yes.
Stick around till the end of the stream. We're gonna drop some bombshell information.
Yeah.
It's almost gonna be like
It's a
leaving a
backpack.
D&D cliffhanger, but with more nucler warheads.
A Delta Green.
Yeah.
But I will say that, asking how we're doing, fucking great. Like, as far as Rowan is concerned, she is more resolved than ever before that this is not just something that needs to be done, it's something that she needs to do, which is a shift in perspective for her. As far as she is concerned, father's gone. All of that's taken care of. All's well that ends well, I guess. Yeah, her bonds with her family are still fairly strong. I dropped a couple of points. Spoilers
For the interludes from this morning.
I went up a couple points in POW in order to get better at mind shenanigans, and in order to do that, I dropped a couple points with my bond with my brother. So, that bond is... Rowan started high. It's at 13. It's fine.
It's still higher than my max.
Rowan has a 15 charisma. Rowan is a charismatic little thing.
I am relieved. From Brazil, which I was given an idea, took something and completely, made it my own. Alaska, which was something that I came up with off the top of my head. that I had an idea and I went with, and some very special thanks to a friend that was stationed at Thule Air Base that gave me a lot of info about those crazy far off Air Force bases where they don't encounter a whole lot of people. So I used a lot of that, and he became an NPC. So
Was that Houston?
Yeah, Matt Houston. I don't know if Matt's watching, but thanks, Matt.
And if you're not, why aren't you?
Because there's life. But he might be. He'll listen to it though. Then going into Idaho, which was written, I had a little bit of a break with that because I actually had kind of plot and it already skeleton out with the minor changes that I had, and then I had to come up with writing the rescue and plotting that and all of the information that I accumulated with that. And dump it in a way that was coherent. You guys, if you haven't, if you're a patron, you get to see my notes. My notes are chaos normally. They got that. I did the binary Morse code thing. That was crazy and insane.
Crazy.
Cool.
And it worked out. And then, I had a crazy idea a long time ago about that island adventure, and it fit in here. So, most of this stuff was all my, homebrew, not even homebrew, but just, it was, stuff inside my brain and not from somebody else. And it was like trying to land a jumbo jet and not knowing how to fly. So I was really worried that it was going to crash and burn. And luckily it didn't. So, I'm relieved. And now with season 4 and the stuff plotted forward, I'm anxious and nervous about where that's going because
It's never ending, isn't it?
it's never ending. But that's okay. Next season is going to be, I'm not going to lie, next season, this coming season is going to be fucking heavy. I do have plans for later seasons, provided everybody survives, hopefully, knock on wood. Or if you don't survive, then we'll have new agents, and I'm still going to go through with some of those plans. So, because I've already got a
Else
plan.
can suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for Rory, it's season 3. I forgot that this season is the one he got engaged.
Yeah.
Like feels like forever ago.
Because it was forever
Yeah, it was like August when we recorded that.
So I need to say something about the engagement.
Yes.
Me too.
No. Sorry, the alarm. My alarm went off to tell me that I should shut up about the alarm. I did not plan that. It just came out of my mouth. I'm like, shit, where am I going to go with this? Where am I going to go? How's this going to work? Oh, he's been planning it for a while. Yes, he's been planning it for a while. And it was just from there. It all started with whole, fiance, and I didn't realize that they weren't engaged at the point. But I was like, nope, fuck it, we're going with it. And
You said they were going to move together, and they're military.
Yeah. So that was off the cuff.
And it was great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. I've never proposed to anyone else in my life before. So please feel honored.
Oh, goodness.
But yeah, especially like Rory at the end. Like I'm very curious to see where it goes with Rory after this. I think I'm going to talk about what happens in the interludes with Rory.
Spoilers!
But dealing in the interludes, it deals very heavily with the aftermath of Rory hitting his breaking point. With the scene at the hospital in Hawaii, which is it was fun to play, but it was very heavy.
Yeah.
But it was just, I'm very curious to see with Rory where he goes, especially after listening to Rowan's first scene with Charlie. Like I'm kind of thinking like, oh, how is Rory feeling about continuing with Delta Green? Like this was a lot for him. And
Chase agrees.
yeah, Chase agrees. And yeah, it was. So who knows? It's all up in the air a little bit right now.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah,
Wait, I got plans. Fancy pants to match.
yeah.
Spoilers clear. All right. Let's continue popcorning through. Do you have something? Sorry, I didn't
Not much. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm doing okay. River is reconsidering his life choices. Wondering what the heck is going on.
Oh, wait until we get the hook to get you into the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, he's kind of numb.
Fair. Fair enough.
And I'm doing good. Some job stuff, but that's life. And the thing about this one, it hasn't.
Spoilers! We're talking about interludes again.
This one's really the first time Rooster's come back worse off, because for him, the whole Delta Green was having a mission again. It was having a purpose. This has only been net positive the whole time until now is the first real setback. So I'm real curious to see what happens and have terrible premonitions because of,
Everyone just looked
because
at Dan.
of that.
Anyone listening to this with the audio only, everyone just turned and looked at Dan.
Yeah.
Who then mimed the cockroach gif that we have referenced that I still don't know what they're talking about, but I'm assuming it's in the Discord somewhere.
It's Emperor Palpatine going, good.
It's
that cockroach.
It's also the raccoon going hee 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 hee, which is my favorite version.
Those.
Or Mr. Burns.
Yeah.
That one I'm familiar with. Excellent.
Yes, there's a whole lot of them.
Yeah.
All right, continuing with the sort of
Rapid fire.
popcorn responses. What
Q&C
was,
version.
What was? Oh, I'll make it faster if you want me to.
No.
What was your favorite growth moment for your character and why? And Dan, I know you play many characters, so you can answer this question whichever way you see fit if you would like to respond. But
Okay.
what was a good moment of growth for?
2 of them. I changed the G-Man, refund into somebody that I thought would be kind of sympathetic from just being an evil character. I wanted him, he thought he was doing the right thing. And we're going to talk more about the Chroniclers way in the future, right? But that changeover where, the players were like, kind of see why he did this or where he did this. And then the fact that he could be the quest giver, or actually the bomb giver, if you will. I still really like the cemetery scene.
That was cool.
And then Father, who really only has appeared on screen, quote unquote, on screen in 2 episodes, but yet he's been, hyper present in nearly everything. And I really, really enjoy his writing. What's nice is that a lot of his stuff's been recorded and gifted out to others. So even though Father's gone, we may still hear Father's voice later on. Also because I really do like going on the cult leader rant thing, because so much fun.
In another multiverse, Dan is a cult leader.
Another
multiverse?
A different universe?
We're trying not to tip our hand too much.
Thank you, Joseph.
Elena. Pure and simple. I mean, season 3 was when we met Elena.
Yeah.
Shit, you're right.
Yeah.
Season 3 was real long, you guys. In case you didn't notice, it was a lot of seasons.
I forgot which interlude that was, but
That was the first interlude of season 3.
Yeah. Fuck.
So yeah, I mean, that was
That was like right. Yeah.
Yeah. Flirting
to
with
it.
Ben, and especially making Ben feel a little bit like, what do I do?
I mean,
It was cute.
that was another one that it was like absolute trust that in the moment I was going, fuck, I don't know how to flirt except for I'd be a dork. And I can do that, which worked because suddenly Rooster is Twitter pated. But,
Euxorius.
what?
What?
Look it up. It's one of my favorite words. Euxorius.
Gesundheit.
I like Petrichor and Megalopolis.
Susurrus.
But anyway, that was the one for me because there was an intro where he said it. This is the first time in who knows how long that Rooster has a home he wants to come back to. And that was the one I was really harping on.
Yeah, in Idaho 11, our one day more intro.
Yeah.
How about on the side?
I was gonna say I think Rory overall in season 3 has kind of grown a little bit into like a second in command ish. I'd like to see that kind of go a little further, but I think just kind of, especially with Rowan not there, kind of delegating a little bit for the rescue, delegating some stuff to Rooster, taking charge on some other stuff, and then in Idaho a little bit, kind of leading the 3 of them.
And really definitely in the cult house. Like, he took charge in that situation. It was great to watch.
Yeah, so that's been kind of fun to see Rory just grow in that way as the kind of next natural leader after Rowan.
Not really sure I have a good answer for this.
That's fine.
I don't think there's a specific moment that stands out. Kind of River is gradually learning just what he's gotten into and coming to terms with that. But it's not, I mean, yes, there are sudden incidents, but I don't think the growth has been, one specific incident over another.
I've liked seeing River kind of try to find out more about Javier and his brothers. Like, as that kind of popped up, you kind of dove right into that with first meeting one brother and then the other one.
And really putting a lot of emotional energy into wanting to help these people. That's been really fun to watch.
And he's become much more assertive about what he wants in general. Going back even to when Rooster demanded the book back, and River's like, no.
And then he was like, well, you were right.
I wasn't going there. I was talking about the characters.
I'd prepared that debate in my mind since season 1.
Oh, so have I.
I think my favorite moment of growth for Rowan has been her accepting that there's more going on than she had been aware of. Because she's always been able to be a little bit removed from it, even with the EOD stuff and the way that her brain has not wanted to process some of it. But at the end, spoilers for the interludes. Would you mind holding that?
Yes, I can.
Thank
I didn't think we
you.
were going to need this that much.
I'm glad we prepared it in advance. In the interludes, she actively seeks out ways to train this part of her brain that she didn't think existed at the beginning of season 3. She didn't know that was a thing. Other people have informed me that there were things that turned up in Shrimp Farm where they were like, wait, you didn't know? I was like, no, I didn't know. Why would I have guessed that? So when Quinn had her, there's someone in the FBI who's in Delta Green who has psychic powers, I messaged Dan and was like, fucking what?
I think we all did that.
Yes, but I heard it first. so I got to do the fucking what first.
You also held that one scene over our heads for like a month.
Because
Oh, that's why I'm like, I don't remember when that happened.
because Laura and Dan recorded that scene separately. None of us heard it until I edited it, which was when I messaged him, and then these guys didn't hear it until I put it into the interludes. Yeah. But yeah, she is actively now seeking out a part of her that she didn't think existed and then was afraid of, because in her mental ability she saw, and I see, a lot of parallels to Father. She and Father are so similar that it's scary. Where it's like, yes, they are both charismatic people who know how to use mental and emotional manipulation to get what they want. And now she finds out that they both have psychic powers. She was afraid of that, and now she's actively training that part of herself where it's like, I mean, I'm still afraid of it, but I'm going to train it. So that's been an interesting point of growth for her, and who knows where that's going to go in the future. We have some ideas. We don't know how that's going to play out yet. Or at least I don't. We'll see how it goes.
I don't know how it's going to play out either.
Cool.
Not going to lie. We'll see how it goes.
It's the joy of collaborative storytelling.
Yes.
You never know.
It's true.
I think we've already answered this question, so I'm going to skip it. I think we've already answered this question, so I'm going to skip it.
Thank you for asking those questions.
Yes, thank you
Whoever
for
you are,
submitting
who-
questions. These were mostly from Agent Harold, who was giving you guys some lovely options.
Thank
to
you, Harold.
Brag about your stuff. Credit where credit is due. This one I will treat as a true speed round. You do not get to caveat or explain. You just have to state your thing. Given how everything ended or didn't on the island, what character aspects or red strings are you most interested on pulling on in future seasons? This was asked by multiple people. Agent Harold asked about this. Arabs asked about this. A couple of other people. I sort of condensed it into one question. So, no caveats, no explanations. Just what is the thread you want to pull?
Us or the characters?
Yes. Answer as you like.
Me, all of them.
Great.
River, mostly what the heck is going on with Javier.
Is Rory compromised, and can he be trusted in a combat situation?
All right.
That's Roosters.
Ooh.
Where are the rest of the members of the EOD, and how are we going to deal with that?
Excellent.
Shit.
You thought you were done with the EOD.
I am done with the EOD.
They're
Gave my
not.
life to the EOD.
Oh my gosh.
I am taking I am.
Oh my gosh.
And Rory's planning a wedding.
He's trying.
Salem goes to
Yeah, I think Rory he's not really thinking that far ahead right now.
Fair.
Me personally, I'm excited to find out what the heck's going on with Neville and the Chroniclers. Just this so wild, like the library, all of that is just nuts. Yeah.
I, the player, want to see Rory's wedding.
Oh, if we're not invited, I'm going to riot.
If we're not invited,
season 3 and 4,
no.
we wouldn't.
You
do
can
that.
elope, but the actual wedding we want to attend.
I will address that I think the question I got more than any other from all sources was, do we get to see Paul and Andrew's wedding? And we are not going to answer that question because it will either happen on stream, on pod, or it won't, and we're going to leave that up to Dan and the players to see what naturally evolves out of the collaborative storytelling, which is why I'm not letting them answer that question. But I'm addressing that a lot of people ask.
You know, people have been asking us about doing a musical episode.
No.
Yes.
We'll have to get Laura
I have a
back.
podcast for you.
What?
I have a podcast for you later.
Am I in it?
No.
Also, though, we do have to
Yes.
get Laura back on. She's amazing.
Yes.
I want to do a scene with Laura.
Yes. No. Shit. No.
Let's skip ahead then, because this was also a question that I think
shit.
I think we've already addressed, but I will bring it up. Q-Cell was introduced through Agent Quinn, Laura Domingo's character from season 2. We love you, Laura. And we've had references to higher letters of the alphabet, such as A-Cell and C-Cell. Is there a possibility that we're going to see other cells in future seasons? And do we think we'll possibly see Lena again? I think we already discussed the fact that we'd love to get Lena, Agent Quinn, back. Dan, do you have any thoughts on the other cells?
So the way that the Outlaws are set up is that there is no, because they're a cell, there is no communication between individual cells outside of Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie, ABC cells. They reach out to the leadership and they go from there. So if they meet up with other cells, that's going to be a very interesting time because they should not be working the same job. And if their jobs overlap, ooh, that's going to be fun.
And
And they shouldn't have a
not
private,
gonna-
chat group.
Yes. Well, that's kind of how some of that stuff does not get, that's why there's not an overlap, because there are members that do kind of talk to each other. And there is a group, but it's just not lettered. There's the ranch.
Yes, we do have the ranch in play as well. How much time do you all spend on character knowledge prep behind the scenes, such as Ben's military research for Rooster, and how much of that research actually makes it to airtime?
a lot. More than you would think. And also even more of that in the supplemental case files.
I did find, I'll take credit for it, I did find a trove of United States military instruction manuals. Because as the United States military is known to do, they have answers and responses on how you should react to everything. And they wrote it all down. It's not, sorry.
Let people see your pretty face.
It's not, not classified, and you can actually download them online. So I got a bunch of Marine handbooks that I was like, Ben, look, here you go, and just dumped them on him after I, looked over to kind of know that the information that I had from friends and from folks in those positions would react similarly and send it over.
And one that I took to heart and immediately pushed back on for mechanics reasons is what's the phrase? The judicious use of grenades.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
This is a quote.
I remember that one.
Yeah,
an
and there was a
amazing
great TikTok video about it that I'm pretty sure we linked at one point. But it's the
Yes, the fat electrician.
yeah, fat electrician. Then it was basically, it straight up says, no, don't use a flashbang to enter a room. Use a grenade in the Marines.
Yep.
I pulled back on that for mechanics and story stuff, but it's why there's always at least talk that Rooster's got grenades, because that's something that will have been drilled into him.
When it comes to prepping the campaign and that type of knowledge, YouTube and Wikipedia are my friends. And because a lot of times this stuff happens on far off places or places that I may not have been, in person. Idaho, I've never been to Bonner's Ferry. Bonner's Ferry is a real town. But there's a ton of information about Bonner's Ferry. Why? Because Ruby Ridge is right there, and there was a lot of story around there. So it kind of fit. And then the island of Olahenga, or Swain's Island. I like Olahenga better because fuck the colonialism. But there's videos on that. And so just watching YouTube videos about Shemya Island.
Yeah, you sent me a few right before we did Alaska. Just like prep about here's like kind of we talked a little bit about before we actually recorded about the setup of it and the layout, and which is kind of cool to get the idea of the island before we started.
Yeah, getting a slice of life. Technology is amazing for it, and if we need to, when we play, I have Wikipedia up always in one window because something's going to happen. I'm going to have to look up something, and Wikipedia is fantastic for it. And usually it points me in the direction I need to go. That and maps. And then, because I also know that Ben will have maps open as well.
If it's a real place, I'll have Google Maps open, and I'm already, even if we're not talking about it, I'm studying it so that I can know what's going on in the area, because that's what Rooster would have done.
And he immediately knows where's the nearest Starbucks and the nearest Walmart.
The Starbucks is so Rowan doesn't kill people.
But we don't use Starbucks anymore.
How did we miss that?
And that question was from Leah. Thank you, Leah. Also, the follow-up question that I think has already been addressed from Thomas, which was how much Googling happens during a session. And so it sounds like
all the time.
The answer is always.
All of it.
So this last Christmas, which happened to be the time that we're still recording this season because it's been over a year, my roommate got me a fantastic keyboard. It's a mechanical keyboard.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it. I love the travel. I love the keystrokes, but it's loud as hell. So I have to be very, very sneaky and quiet as I'm typing, or make sure that I'm not typing while I'm talking.
Yes, type as much as you like, but don't use your mouse or type when you're talking because it's very hard to take those out.
I try.
I know.
And here's the thing. His mic is up here, and it's still louder than my keyboard, because my mic is here, but I've got a Mac keyboard, and it's still louder.
So that segs into the next question. How has your editing style and process evolved over the course of this season for our lovely editor? For anyone who isn't aware, you should be aware that in addition to being cast member and unfortunately having to front up until the last third of this last season, Tiana also does all of the editing on the podcast.
I mean, my editing style has been changing significantly over the course of the last year and a half since we started all of this. When we started, I had an idea of how I wanted things to be based on other podcasts that I listened to, things like Even Fell or Halfway to Heroes, where it was the original idea was a little bit of ambiance to sort of set the scene with a couple of like important sound effects. Where we started, where we ended.
Squish.
Squish. Yeah, it has been...
Splort.
Please keep all mustard and Boston cream related sound effects under control. Thank you.
Awesome cream Karen. That still breaks me.
I had my search history on epidemic sound is legendary. Some of the best sound effects lookups that I have found is water balloons exploding, because that has been some of it. Also, someone going to town on a chicken, as far as like ripping it to pieces. Great sound effects. But my style has definitely evolved.
I was going back to Lover in the Ice. and
Was it the weird mechanical
Skippy.
clacking?
No, it was Skippy.
Oh, okay.
No, I wasn't actually thinking Skippy, but oh shit. No, I was thinking about the amorous couple that you found.
Oh,
Mechanical
that.
clacking.
That was actually a machine sound effect that I found on freesound.org, which is one other place that I go fairly frequently. It's actually a really cool machine. I found a video of it that is all like wooden parts, and it has that very distinctive like clacking, banging against a wall sound. And I sent that to Dan and said, guess what I'm going to use that for? But I will say that my editing style has definitely evolved with Dan's handling, because he has a very particular way of describing the way that things sound. And when I listen to it, he one of the most common outtakes that gets put into the outtakes is, "Oh, Ren's gonna have to find that sound effect," and with me glaring at him.
Yeah.
But he has very specific sounds in mind. So, like for example, for the portal and ball coming through, I had to layer like 4 different sounds in order to get the sound that I was looking for, with the wind going and the water like bubbling underneath the dock, and so. I was given a sound recorder, a hand sound recorder for my birthday, which I'm very pleased about. That thing goes with me everywhere now, so I can record random sounds. And I've been growing a lot as an editor, in that I've been taking more chances and doing more things with the most terrifying thing to any sound editor: silence.
Does my attempt to give you sound cues help or hurt?
Yes.
Okay. I don't mean your soul, I mean actually help with the podcast.
No, yes, because some of them, like, for the interludes, this is a very brief spoiler, there were some very specific construction sounds that were described that I had difficulty finding, so I had to make some of them, or figure out how to engineer them with the sound effects that I could find, because some of them were just so specific. But the more specific that you are, the more that I can take them or ignore them. Sometimes I ignore your sound effect cues because I just can't find them. Or I feel like doing something like them would break. For example, in Idaho 13, there should have been continuous gunfire under everything that happened. And I get twitchy when it goes for more than a few seconds because it's loud and it's constant. And I didn't want to deal with that, so we didn't.
I think that, you've learned how to use the absence of sound, not necessarily the silence, but punctuating the sounds. And I think it started in Mustang, when with the bomb, when we started with the tinnitus, really loud, then quiet it out. But the listener still had that noise in their imagination, but it was gone. It wasn't there. And then it picked up again. And you've been able to do that in other scenes, like elsewhere, like with the gunfire, or with static in an alleyway. No, it's all right, we're good. With static in an alleyway. It wasn't played over the entire thing, it was only played in 2 spots, but you don't realize that. So, you're playing with people's sense of, sound and imagination, and it's working beautifully.
I will say, though, that for the entirety of the island, the whole thing, the ocean was a constant backbeat. Mm-hmm. I never took that sound effect out, ever. Because one thing that I learned being in Monterey over the weekend was that everything that I did, the ocean was a constant backbeat. And even if I wasn't consciously aware of it, I was always hearing it. Mm-hmm. And I wanted that sense throughout that particular episode. Those episodes, both of them, because it was like the sea is constant. Mm-hmm. And persistent.
Killed it.
I'm very pleased with it. So yes, my editing style has evolved and changed, partially because of this one, and partially because I'm growing as an editor. You do something long enough, you get better at it, hopefully.
All right. I'm going to give you 3 minutes on this, Ben. What was the impetus and inspiration behind Safety On and the creation of the supplemental case files as an expansion of the Redacted Reports world and lore? And also, will we be getting another installment?
And go.
Go.
Ren, Tiana, because Tiana had shared some fiction of other characters from past games, and I'm a writer. I love writing fiction. I always have written fiction. I was trying to sell a book for a long time and was scared to start something new. And once I got an idea of an interesting scene for Rooster, I just started writing and it turned into Safety On. Meanwhile, I had been introduced to Agent Harold through other channels and talking to her.
Star Wars geeks reunite.
Yup, Commander. 10 points to anybody who got that one.
Stay on target.
Loosen up. So I started writing, and then Harold is an amazing editor, and I came up with this weird idea. Hey, would you guys be okay if maybe this is a patron thing? And then I got another idea, and I wrote Knowing. And also, another big one for all of this was Danny, who literally made me, Danny's writing made me comfortable with being around reading and writing smut without being, because I've never done that before, and without being explicit or bad in multiple ways. Uh-oh.
The hell you mean not being explicit? You haven't listened to what I recorded of
No, I haven't, and I'm not sure I will.
Patrons, watch your feeds.
Also, and for the last point, I don't know much because it's mostly up to H-Cell. I do know that Agent Harold has handed back off to Agent Homer the initial edit. Homer is working on it, and we may hear more from either Agent Harker or Holmes at some point. And that's all I'm at liberty to say.
Fair enough.
Was that under 3 minutes?
It was.
It
I'm very
was.
proud of you.
Yeah.
Well done.
I am extremely proud of those. It is also
He's still got 30 seconds.
Yep,
Don't
you
interrupt
got
him.
about 30 seconds.
and it is by far the most I've ever distributed any of my writing, so it's terrifying, and I'm also very proud of them. And time.
Yeah, you still have 30 seconds. Well done.
I also appreciate that you actually set a timer. I was just watching the clock to make sure it didn't go on too long.
So was I.
Thank you for accepting my subtle needling.
I'm loud. I've dealt with this my whole life. I know.
Okay. Here's another one that I'm gonna popcorn real quick. So I will let you all take a beat of silence to think this through, and then I just want like your 1-sentence response. This is a question I got from several people. What is a piece of advice you have for anyone looking to get into playing Delta Green for the first time? And Dan, specifically, do you have a good piece of advice on being a handler in DG because, quote, you make it seem so easy?
Don't look at me first.
You don't have to go first. I was just giving
Yeah.
you the, like, separate extension. But does anybody have, like, just a real quick bridal shower sort of, like, quick one-off piece of advice for somebody who's
I think
looking
just
to play their
coming up with a good character concept, like a good, I guess, arc that you want to go for. Like in Delta Green, it's not really classes like D&D, it's like jobs. So it's a lot of 3-letter agencies. But even then, I didn't pick that. I picked Doctor in the Air Force, which is kind of a little bit outside that. But just coming up with some sort of character concept that works with the other people in your group.
I'm not sure it would work for everybody, but for me, the biggest thing has been just knowing enough background that you can play the character like they actually know what they're doing because it's real life and they have a real job or real experiences. That's all my research into the military. I don't know if that would work for everybody, but it's worked for me.
I would say find yourself a handler who doesn't just talk about lines and veils, but shows you how to actually do it, and you know, makes it easy to talk about the hard stuff.
Very important.
Because
Thank you.
that's really difficult for me, but you know, it just, I don't know, we just clicked.
Good. Yay, I'm glad. I'm really glad.
Be comfortable with losing. Because sometimes you're gonna hit those critical fails, and they are heartbreaking. But they are some of the best character moments that you will get. So be comfortable with the fumbles. Be comfortable with losing. Be comfortable with being outside of your character's comfort zone.
Or hitting your breaking point.
Or shooting your friends.
All right, so some of these are stolen from other games and other ideas. Number one, as a handler, as a GM, as a DM, you are the number one fan of your players and your player characters. So you want to set them up into situations that are going to be interesting. Don't be afraid to push it a little bit further. Stay within, boundaries, right? But don't be scared. The people that you're playing with, I hope, are your friends. And your friends are going to trust you, and you can trust them into pointing you in the directions that they want to go. Number two, look at their character sheet. The things that they've made the choices for when they created their characters are important to them. Now, granted, this didn't happen. For example, Laura picked swimming on her character sheet. But it made sense because she was a triathlete. And the first adventure, I drop them in the desert where there's absolutely no swimming involved, right? But the idea is you can still take that background and make it something, right? It meant something to the character, make it mean something in your story. And then maybe the third part about how I make it look easy. I do a lot of prep, but I don't do a lot of crazy written prep. I do a lot of reading, and I do watch a lot of videos, like I mentioned, and background. So I have a Bible, if you will, in my brain of what's in the world. Stick to that. But don't be afraid to change it, especially if you're players, and your players will absolutely 100% give you something better than what you thought. You can take credit for it and say, yes, this is absolutely what I thought we were doing. I'm so proud of you that you followed along with the storyline.
Totally planning to propose the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah. And, Chase is going to be the ring bearer. But, that's all. But the thing is when the players give you something and, come out to them later on and be like, oh yeah, thanks for the heads up. But it goes back to, they're your friends. If you're not playing with your friends, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is a social activity, and these should be the people that you trust and love. And, you get together, you make a time commitment, be committed to it, as best you can. Life happens, and don't get pissed off when other people's life happens either.
All right. I think our time for this debrief is swiftly coming to a close. So let's move into some end matter and sort of wrap things up a little bit. Many people have many questions about the next season.
Okay.
I'm going to say don't answer any of them other than, hey, Dan. Hey, Arcel. Is there going to be another season?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. You all can rest easy. There will be a season 4. If you hadn't picked that up yet, I just wanted to make it explicitly clear. There will be a season 4. It will be coming.
I know that you said let's not get into
You can,
to
yeah,
details.
go for it.
I have prepped out a total of 8 of up to season 8, right? So I've got 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8 plotted. Now, obviously, as we get further out, those skeletons are less filled because I don't know who is going to make it, who's not going to make it. Our plot armor is gone.
Yep.
So, there is the risk that a character may not appear in next season or the season after or whatnot. You got to tune in to find out.
Are you gonna fire me if Rooster dies?
Only if you bring in Router.
I believe this has been well
Fair.
established.
But
I deleted the character sheet.
I've got plans and I've got plans and ideas for quite a bit more content. Also, we've got other content in mind that is RCell adjacent. Is going to be redacted reports type of stuff. Somebody mentioned that we might have, website or web portal in the future where you may find additional content later on. But I don't know. Don't hold me to that. I have nothing to do that. I just write and herd cats. So.
The most important job, other than just showing up to the table, which is really everyone's job.
I don't know. Editing this crazy bullshit is kind of the more important. Is the most important thing.
I would have nothing to edit if it weren't for your storytelling.
Yeah, thank you.
It's almost like everyone is important except me. I'm just here to do some bonus background wrangling.
I think we're about to debunk that one pretty thoroughly.
Oh no, I've
That's how
been
we
told
get into the
multiple
housekeeping
times
notes.
that I'm only the talent and I don't have another job.
Yes, as I frequently have to remind you, just keep gin in my hand when I come visiting.
I'm good at that.
So I think this is going to segue into a little section that I call housekeeping, which is the closing matter. I should have phrased this as questions to keep it in the format, but I didn't. So I'm just going to make some announcements on your behalf, and you guys can tag into what those mean, which is the Redacted Reports will be coming back for season 4, but there is going to be a brief hiatus. This is mostly because somebody who is sitting at this table and is wearing like 19 hats needs to have a little bit of a break so that we can get them caught up on some things.
I was convinced to take a hiatus when 5 or 6 people who didn't talk to each other all are like, season break is a great time to take a break. At some point, the Taurus stubbornness has to give way to, I guess my friends are all right.
Okay. On that note,
Yes.
happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Rad.
For those that don't know, it was last week. Tomorrow.
Happy
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
On Saturday. Happy birthday.
Ben and I will see you in November.
And Laura too.
Seriously,
Laura too.
I am the only person who has appeared in.
Oh,
I think I'm the only person involved, except for now Alondra, who was not an April.
And happy birthday to Laura.
Happy birthday to Laura.
Yeah, that's what I mean, including Laura.
Yeah.
and on Sunday, Happy Hef Day.
Happy Hef Day. That will be made.
Oh,
First little spell.
I take it back. Our new premier voice talent this season, his birthday is in November too.
There
That's
we go.
right.
Little baby bard.
Yep.
Anyway, but yes, there were some birthdays. There was much convincing. There's going to be a brief hiatus. Do we have a date set for the return?
Yes, so the hiatus will officially begin on May 11th. We are going to be dropping this podcast that you are listening to right now on, May 4th? So May the 4th be with you, and also this Talkback.
I thought you were going to say, and also with you.
I
gonna
was
be like,
ready. I was
Wow.
prepared.
That is not my
also
job.
That's the
Thank you.
old RC training growing up.
However, so May 11th is going to begin the hiatus. June 8th is when we are going to be returning with not the first part of season 4 precisely, but something that comes before season 4. Something that is going to be very important to season 4. And a few people out there in the listening base know exactly what I'm talking about.
And I don't.
I haven't heard it yet either.
And there are many people who don't know what
Yeah.
that means, but keep us in your podcatcher, keep an eye on all the socials, and if you're a member of our Patreon, or would like to be after tonight or listening to this, there will be some drops and things that will be happening throughout the hiatus. Some of the handler's notes and the Rowan's reports and some other fun goodies
And
that
some
you'll
little
get a
treats.
little preview on. We'll just
In the handler's notes, there is a lot of information that I did not redact and take out. So you can go dig through that stuff and you'll learn a lot more. These guys haven't seen it.
I have so.
You told me I wasn't allowed to look.
They haven't seen a lot of it.
I also don't have access to the Patreon feed.
Yeah, fun fact, patrons get to see things that some of the cast members don't get to see.
But whether or not you can decipher which are the important parts, because there's a couple like full-on books in those handler notes. If you can decipher what's important, have fun, Red Stringers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the last part of that, as we've talked about Patreon and socials, is that I believe I was told that we wanted to address that, there's been some questions about the social media, and things have been a little bit lax. So as of next month,
Oh my, yes. I mean, I think our Instagram kind of kills it.
Whoever's in charge of Facebook is.
Yeah.
They're fired.
let's just say that ACEL has passed down some requests that things get a little tighter. So going forward, starting in May, our newest members of HCell will be taking over and assisting with some of the socials. We're expanding that group. And so keep an eye on those because in addition to the glorious work that Ben and Joseph and Tiana have been specifically doing, and
Joseph and
Seth
Tiana.
and Dan have been assisting with by providing stuff. You're all involved, but realistically, this podcast is growing. This podcast is growing exponentially. I have said personally that I think this is right on the cusp of really exploding, and that's as clear and obvious to me based on the amount of energy and enthusiasm that I, just as a fan and a follower, see in the Discord from everybody else and the waves and waves of patrons who are involved. So we are expanding the team a little bit on the behind the scenes. All the voices that you know and love will still be the cast, but we're adding in some other folks to help build a website and get the socials a little more active and a little more consistent so that you can find all of the secret goodies and all of the hidden Easter eggs. Not to devalue what all of these lovely people have already been doing, but they've been doing it all themselves, and it's time to give them some backup.
We've been wearing a lot of hats, so we're ready to pass the social media hat over.
Chase is learning HTML.
Yes, Jason's learning HTML. He'll be coding our new website.
Yes.
He's very good. I'm pretty sure he's halfway through Hackbright already.
Yeah.
And so you will start to see.
So if you have any criticisms, don't.
Do you know how hard it is to code without thumbs?
Yes.
But anyway, so you will see more of that, and we may disclose a little more of that as we get closer. Patrons, you'll be the first to see all of that. That brings us to the end of my specific document.
I have one more note just because it never came up earlier. We never talked about Sam Squared. So I never had I never had a chance to do this.
A box has just been placed in front of Dan.
Fancy chopsticks.
A box of chopsticks because Sam, male Sam, keeps losing the chopsticks. Female Sam is convinced that there's gremlins.
So
we got a file on gremlins.
Sam wants to read that.
I don't know, maybe Javier's taking them.
You know, maybe.
I wasn't gonna come here with gifts for 3 people and not 4. I was just waiting for Sam Squared to get mentioned.
So thank you very much. That's fantastic. Sam Squared is based off a real person who does not wish to be identified. I thank you very much for all the input and inspiration that you provide to me when I bounce ideas off you.
And also, I just love that it's Sam Squared. Like, if you use this person's real name, it wouldn't be Sam Squared. So I enjoy that it's the 2 oddballs.
What's the name of it when things aren't like just rearranged? Is it an anagram?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Moss would
Sam-
be an anagram of
Yeah.
Sam.
Sam Point is
An anagram?
Sam J Point
Oh, cool.
is an anagram.
Anyway, I didn't mean to go into a whole other topic. I just really wanted to give
No,
Dan his gift.
that's totally fine. I didn't have that one on my list, so you had to make your own way. And if that's not collaborative storytelling, then what is? That's it for me. Do you have any parting thoughts for your beloved Red Stringers?
Thank you.
We literally, I mean, we would probably still do this podcast anyway.
Even if it wasn't a podcast.
Because this is such an amazing game with such an amazing group of people that we tell this story with. But there is something it's lightning in a bottle that we have with our amazing community. We love you guys so much. You are the wind beneath our wings, and it is worth everything. It is worth the not very good nights of sleep when I can wake up on Monday morning and see the patron reactions in your section of the Discord.
And then the live, the listening parties on
Are
Wednesdays
amazing.
and Thursdays are amazing. Another thing that I am very proud of granted, everybody gets together because of the stuff that we produce, which is mind-blowing, blows my mind. but friendships have been created because of this. Some people have been going through some rough stuff and said, hey, this helped them through some rough stuff, which makes me, it's humbling. It brings chills to my arms. And, the fact that something that we do, that this is just a whole lot of fun, and it is a lot of work, not gonna lie. We do put work and time and effort into it, but the fact that the reception that we get, the fact that you guys pay us money, you guys give us actual money to keep producing it, and because of patrons, and I don't want to just put this on the patrons, because even the people that can't give us money tell us about others and spread the word, and it's because of the patrons I got flown out here. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, so I was able to fly out to the Bay and have a little bit of a mini vacation and hang out with my friends because of you. So thank you very, very much.
I've personally benefited. I've gotten really close with all these people. You're all my best friends now. I've gotten to be friends with people across the country I've never met from the Discord. The world, yeah.
Yeah.
From the Discord, some of whom I've talked to regularly that I've never met. And that's why this is not an advertisement, I swear, but seriously check out our Discord on Quests and Chaos. It is the healthiest, most wonderful corner of the internet. The channel that started as technical support but was only called support has become a community support. Come vent so we can support you. It's amazing people.
Human technical support.
Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on?
That's what sleep is for.
Yeah. And serious thanks again to Thomas and Amy, Quest and Chaos, for distributing us, letting us be in this beautiful studio, putting up with our shenanigans.
Supported us in advice and some, they distribute. They also host the podcast on their Captivate. It's been absolutely phenomenal. We would have figured it out, but it has been so much better because we've been able to collaborate with Quest and Chaos
And combine the communities as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, watching the crossover between the communities has been incredibly fun as someone who started on the Quest and Chaos side of things and then was forcibly dragged into the Redacted Reports. But I wouldn't have
wet
it
string.
any other way. So I think with that, do you have anything else to add?
No? Okay. I just wanted to make sure that everybody got a...
It's so good to play with you guys.
Yeah. And see you in person for the
Yes.
second time ever. Okay, third time. I saw you twice the weekend before last time.
It's wearing sleeves.
It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel.
Sleeves are bullshit. I'm a human space heater. I came from work.
And thank you, and thank you so much, Alondra, for running
Yes.
this for us. This has been one of the. I mean, we've only had 2 of these things, but it has been very well organized and helped keep me and Ben, who are the chatty ones of the group,
That's a
little
slight
bit
against
more
you,
under
Joseph,
control.
for last time.
I was, and I took it as such.
Thank you, Laura, for having a real life and not being available, which is why I
the
got
last one,
have this
it was
seat, 'cause she
loosely
was our-
organized
It
last
was
time.
very loosely organized.
And it was kind of collaborative, like we kind of all moderated last time.
You know I'm giving you shit.
I know.
I also have to thank my Wednesday Star Wars game. We play every Wednesday, or we try to play every Wednesday. I had to miss this week, guys. I'm so sorry. But I hope you guys are watching. So,
And if you're not, what do you have better to do? A Star Wars game?
And,
who's running the Star Wars game? Not me!
And I
It's
think
wicked.
with that, I'm being notified by ACell that it's time to bring this recording to a close. Thank you for your debrief. Thank you for your time. I hope we'll see all of you in the Discord to freak out for Season 4. And remember, Father loves you always. Always.